Here is my official Patreon. Please join it because there are many stuffs that I can't share here because of community guidelines. But on my Patreon page, you will get adult Harry stories, Naruto, and Deca 2. Also the quick access for other parts of my story which might take time on YouTube. Also, there are many stuffs you will get here. Please consider joining my Patreon. Link in the description. Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto took hot Kitsune? Before we start, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Now enjoy the video. Two figures stood on the water of the legendary Valley of the End. In this very same valley, two other great shinobi fought. They were Uchiha Madara, the very first Uchiha, and the Shodaime Hokage, the first leader of the great village of Konoha. The Shodaime tried to stop his best friend, but all was in vain. The village leader lost his life, and the Uchiha ran away, never to be seen again. Now, the past is repeating itself, as two best friends stand to fight to the death. One was Uzumaki Naruto, self-proclaimed future Hokage of Konoha, and Konoha's #1 most unpredictable ninja. The other was the last Uchiha residing in Konoha, the prodigy, Uchiha Sasuke. Each were embedded in the giant statues of the valley's past combatants. Naruto was in Shodaime's, and Sasuke was in Uchiha Madara's, respectively. However, at one glance, instead of the normal preteens they looked like demons. Naruto was engulfed in a crimson cloak of demonic chakra. The blonde's whisker-shaped scars had deepened, and his already large canine teeth had grown so large they couldn't fit in his mouth. He even developed claws sharp enough to cut through steel. The cloak had taken the shape of a fox, tail and ears too, outlining Naruto's already feral looks. Sasuke didn't look any more charming. His normally pale skin has darkened into a grayish hue, and a cross-shaped symbol had appeared on the bridge of his nose. His hair had lengthened and turned silver, and he grew claws and fangs, giving the Uchiha an almost vampiric look. The most noticeable features, though, were the giant hand-like wings on his back. "Dope," Sasuke hissed. "Team," Naruto growled back. "I won't let you stop me on my quest for power, Naruto," Sasuke said. "I won't let you stop me from stopping you from being an asshole," Naruto retorted. Had not this been a serious moment, the blonde would have chuckled at his clever remark. Sasuke scowled. "You idiot. You'll never be able to stop me." "We'll see about that, team," Naruto growled. He held out his right hand and began to swirl chakra, both his normal and demonic, into it. The blonde established a sphere of chakra to hold in the violent spinning occurring in his palm. The Hokage hopeful continued to add chakra until a glowing spinning purple orb appeared in his hand. "You used your special chakra to augment your attack," Sasuke commented. "For once, you have a good idea, Dobe." The Uchiha then gathered the majority of his remaining chakra as he began to do hand seals. Sasuke gripped his left hand with his right as a familiar chirping sound emanated from it. A ball of electricity formed in the prodigy's wrist. He then added the chakra he borrowed from his cursed seal. The chirping turned into a hollow sound that sounded a lot like birds flapping. Sasuke smirked. "You like it, Naruto? I call it the Hakadabetsu Chidori." Naruto gave a smirk as well, although with his fangs, looked like a sneer. "Nice name. I think I'll name mine, too. I'll call it the Anakin Rasengan." The two best friends roared as they rocketed off their perches in the statues and towards each other. Naruto and Sasuke reared their hands back as they neared the point of contact. They screamed as they connected their attacks. Hakatabetsu Chidori. Anakin Rasengan. A black sphere engulfed the valley as Kakashi arrived on the scene. "Dear Kami," Kakashi gasped at the raw power the black sphere was radiating. Never in his life had he seen something so great and powerful, aside from the Kyuubi attack, of course. Soon the sphere dissipated, leaving two figures. One was on the ground, the other standing over him. Kakashi didn't believe his eyes. "Where are they?" Sakura asked. She, the rest of the Konoha 11, who didn't go on the rescue mission, Kiba, the Sand Trio, Shikamaru, and several villagers were waiting at the north gate of Konoha. They were waiting for the return of one Uzumaki Naruto and hopefully Uchiha Sasuke. Chuji, Lee and Niji weren't there as they were unconscious. Damn it. Where's that Naruto? Kiba growled. Although he looked angry, the Inuzuka was really worried for his friend. This is troublesome, Shikamaru said. I just hope Naruto survives. Oh, of course Naruto-kun would survive, Hinata stuttered. He won't die until he becomes Hokage. I believe in him. Then three figures appeared down the road. One was Hatake, Kakashi, who was doing his weird eye smile thing. The other was Uchiha Sasuke, who was barely conscious and had several scratches and bruises. He was currently being carried by a grinning Naruto, who didn't look any better than his best friend. Naruto brought Sasuke-kun back. Ino exclaimed. She and everyone at the gate rushed to meet the three. Naruto looked on ahead to the rushing mass heading towards them. He grinned his foxy grin at them. The blonde thought that since now he had brought back their precious Uchiha, he would be recognized. His thoughts, however, were crushed when a rushing Sakura knocked him over and soon took over the duty of caring for Sasuke. The pink-haired girl quickly checked Sasuke's wounds and growled. She stood up and stalked over to Naruto, who was trying to get up, but was having difficulty because of his wounds. You baka. Sakura slammed her fist into the blonde's already hurt head, knocking him down again. What's Sakura doing? I brought her Sasuke back for her, and now she's hitting me? Naruto thought as he struggled again. The kunoichi then made a move to hit him again, but was stopped by none other than her own best friend. Sakura! Ino shouted. How could you do that? He brought back Sasuke-kun, and this is how you thank him? But he hurt Sasuke-kun. Sakura responded. He deserves to be hit. I bet he would have killed Sasuke-kun had not Kakashi-sensei intervened. He's a baka who's jealous of Sasuke-kun and tried to kill him. He's like what the villagers call him. A demon. As soon as the word demon was shot out of her mouth, the pink-haired kunoichi was hit in the face so hard she collided with a nearby tree. Sakura looked up to find angry Byakugan eyes and the hatred-filled face of Hyuga Hinata. Don't you dare call Naruto-kun a demon. He's nothing like one. He even risked his own life to save your Sasuke-kun, the angry Hyuga screamed. He almost died to make you happy, and this is how you repay him? Many branch Hyuga members in the group flinched at this. They would have to remember to never bother Hinata-sama on a topic as sensitive as Naruto. Yeah, why would you do this to your own teammate? Kiba growled. Because he's a demon. Mr. Shithole said from the crowd. Yeah, he hurt the last Uchiha. That brat needs to be killed. Miss Fuckter joined in, and soon the crowd was riled up and prepared to attack the blonde. However, they were stopped by the conscious members of Konoha 11, minus Sakura of course. What are you doing? Tenten said as she blocked a kunai directed at Naruto's fallen form. He saved Sasuke for you. But the demon practically almost killed Sasuke. The punishment should be death. Mr. Dumbass shouted. /n. And yes, I enjoyed calling the villagers that. Why? 'Cause it's true. What the hell is going on here? A feminine voice boomed. Everyone turned to find the Godame Hokage, Tsunade of the legendary Sannin. Godame-sama. Mr. Dumbass went to her. That demon hurt the last Uchiha. I demand that he be executed. Tsunade looked calmly at the man, before grabbing him by the shirt collar and throwing him into a tree, which he went through, and into the 5-meter thick rock behind it, which he also went through. No one is to harm the boy, is that clear? Tsunade boomed. The villagers shivered at the killer intent she was radiating. The very threatening-looking ANBU shinobi behind her, which were also radiating some killer intent, weren't helping either. Tsunade quickly went over to her surrogate son and checked his vitals. Although the Kyuubi's chakra was healing him, Naruto was still in bad condition. Tsunade cursed. Some of the wounds required extensive surgery. As the Hokage began to heal the Jinchuriki, an old raspy voice stopped her. Tsunadeheim, I suggest you stop healing that demon and listen to me, Danzo, the founder of the root branch of ANBU, said. Tsunade bristled at his voice. She never did tolerate the man. And why should I? The Hokage asked. Danzo grinned. Because he isn't a shinobi of Konoha anymore. What? The Konoha 11, minus Sakura, and Tsunade screamed. How the hell did this happen? Ino asked. Why isn't Naruto a shinobi of Konoha anymore? Because when Tsunadeheim left to the gates, I held a clan meeting, the armless man said. You can't do that, the slug princess shouted. Oh yes, I can, but only if the majority of the clan members agree that the Hokage is making unjust decisions, such as letting a demon live within the village walls. And after they voted for that, I held a voting on which if we should banish the demon. And naturally, the majority favored for banishment, Danzo explained. Tsunade's heart almost stopped at that moment. The next day, a blonde, who still had bandages wrapped around various parts of his body, stood at the gates. This was the day of his exile. A large section of the village had come to see him leave. However, only a fraction of them, mostly shinobi, were there to mourn his leave. The rest were there for the legendary day their demon would leave the village. Some had even set up food stands to sell a profit as well. Naruto was crying freely as he said goodbye to his precious people, which included Iruka, Naruto's father figure, and the second to acknowledge him as a person, Kakashi, who although didn't teach Naruto much, was an older brother figure to Naruto, Tsunade, Naruto's mother figure, and Konohamaru, the third person to acknowledge Naruto, and the blonde's little brother. Tsunade sobbed as she crushed Naruto into her chest. Some of the more perverted men in the village, Kakashi and Jiraiya, couldn't help but feel jealous. Don't be stupid out there, okay? Be safe, the Hokage said as she hugged Naruto even more. Biba-chan, I see can't breathe. Naruto gasped. The Godame quickly released the blonde, who started having a coughing fit. Hey Naruto-kun, Ino said. She was standing in front of him with Tintin and Hinata at her sides. Did she say, Kun? These were Shikamaru's, Chuji's, and Naruto's thoughts. We, the Kunoichi of the now Konoha Tin, present to you a farewell gift, they recited in unison. The three then handed Naruto a pendant with the Uzumaki spiral on it. On the back was the kanji for hero. The blonde would have thanked the girls, had he enough time. Unfortunately, or fortunately from whichever viewpoint, the girls immediately glomped on Naruto and began crying. Many other, even not so perverted men became jealous as well. Sure, it's okay, Naruto said as he rubbed circles on the sobbing girls' backs. Naruto quickly glanced over at his male friends, a pleading look in his eyes. He was met with blank, almost jealous stares. The kid's a chick magnet, Kakashi thought. Why does Naruto get the girls? Kiba thought. Wow, I never thought I'd say, think that. As the girls released him, Naruto walked across the boundary of the village walls, waved everyone goodbye, and began his trek when, Naruto, wait, a voice called. Everyone turned and the crowd parted to reveal an Uchiha Sasuke, with casts and bandages rushing towards the gate. He was being followed by a few fangirls, Sakura. But Sasuke-kun, you need to rest. Sakura grabbed Sasuke's arm. You don't need to see the demon leave. I have people videotaping it. Sasuke suddenly turned towards Sakura and unleashed enough killer intent to make Orochimaru flinch. Sakura, I'd suggest you let go of my arm right now, or I'll go level 1 curse seal on you. The pink-haired girl quickly let go and cowered back into the crowd. Sasuke started towards Naruto again. When the Uchiha was a foot away from Naruto, he stopped. /n. By the way, there is no yaoi whatsoever here. This is strictly a brotherly/friendship scene. So if you are seeking man-with-man action, then shoo. Naruto. Sasuke. The two then embraced in a brotherly fashion. When will I see you again, Aniki? Sasuke inquired. You'll never see enough of Uzumaki Naruto, Aniki, Naruto responded. The two broke away, and Naruto began his journey yet again. Many fangirls dropped their heads in sorrow, as they were hoping for the hot Uchiha to start making out with the slightly cute Uzumaki. Some even dropped the cameras they brought in sadness. Many males sweat-dropped at this. As Naruto was nearing the boundary of the villager's sight, he turned his head. Oh, and his final words. What kind of demon saves a village it wants to destroy about 5 times? Naruto shouted. Then he restarted on his journey. The villagers cheered. The demon was finally gone from their pure village. Some had started to arrange parties. Others rushed into a nearby bar to induce themselves in drunken bliss. Many, however, were scared. Scared of the remainders of the Konoha 11, minus Sakura, who were radiating Kaga-level killer intent per team. This, coupled with a Tsunade who was very ticked off, made every passing villager to even breathe funny at Naruto's leave to be chucked across the village, crushed by a giant rolling meatball, be pelted with weapons, and be induced by various painful jutsus. Jiraiya sighed from his perch on top of a nearby building as Niji Kaiten ed a villager into a nearby shack from saying that the demon deserved a night in his gay brother's house. The white-haired Sannin scowled. "That's it. I'm out of this damned village for good." The leave of Jiraiya wasn't the only blow dealt to Konoha. First, Nami no Kuni cut off all trade with Konoha. Then Takigakure stopped hiring Konoha ninja and even began a trade blockade against the Great Village. Next, Yukiguni and their ruler, Princess Yuki, stopped all connections with the village. The most hurtful of the blows, however, was the alliance with Suna being declined. Instead, the four countries Naruto had affected had joined up and began anti-prejudice campaigns, using the village of Konoha as an example. Many villagers blamed this on Naruto, but a good-sized part blamed it on themselves. After all, if they hadn't banished Naruto, the countries would still be on good terms with Konoha. Speaking of Naruto, 3 years later, Naruto, who was now a traveling mercenary for hire, stopped for camp at a clearing. It was night, and he needed to rest. I wonder if there is a river nearby. I'll need it to practice that new Suite Unjutsu arrow Sennin taught me, Naruto wondered. Ever since he left, Jiraiya has been giving him visits and teaching the blonde new techniques when he was at it. Naruto had learned a lot over the years. He was an accomplished seal user, his ninjutsu library now rivaled an average Jounin's, and his taijutsu was as good as Lee's. Naruto also grew up physically. He had become a chick magnet, actually. The blonde was forced to wear a cloth mask similar to Kakashi's constantly now, since whenever he walked into a store with females in it, he'd get glomped to near death. Naruto stood up and began to look around for a pond of sorts. What he found instead was a well. In the well was no water, but a necklace. Naruto peered at the necklace, wondering on what it was doing in the bottom of a well. It was a golden cross with red outline. In the middle was a diamond, which accentuated its beauty. It was on a golden chain which sparkled in the moonlight. "Whoa," Naruto said dreamily. The blonde reached for it, but then an invisible force pushed him into the well. The Jinchuriki shut his eyes as he neared the bottom of the well. But instead of impacting with the ground, the blonde passed through the earth like it was water, and somehow, the necklace found its way around the blonde's neck. How Naruto ended up on a beach, he'd never know. On a sparkly night, a feminine figure walked down the banks of Dark Shore. The figure was tall, easily 6 feet, and muscular, but not bulky. It was humanoid, with long pointy ears, skin that was almost a royal purple, and shiny silver hair. She had a curvy and voluptuous body, along with shining body armor which barely covered her private parts. Her name was Ryla Starhounder. She was a relatively young night elf, 16 years old, barely graduated from the Sentinels Academy. Patrolling the shores of Darkshore was her first assignment. Little did she know that a meeting on this mission would change her life. She stopped for a second and admired the night sky and how it connected with sea, making a beautiful blend of colors. Then the night elf heard a cough. She turned and found a figure on the sand. In the pale moonlight, Ryla could register tan skin and a humanoid figure. In her teachings at the academy, she realized this was a human. Ryla never met one in person, but humans were her favorite subject. The young sentinel unhooked the glaive of her back and held it in a defensive stance as she approached the human. Upon closer inspection, she found the human to be about the same age as her. However, the human had clothes she had never seen before. They were like rogue armor, only made to be more flexible. The human, male she could see, wore a black cloth mask, a mesh shirt, covered by an orange GI. On top of the GI was a black trench coat with an orange stripe leading from the top to the bottom. On the back of the coat was a red circle with a spiral mark in it. The human wore a similar symbol on a pendant around his neck. The human suddenly jerked up and jumped a few feet away from Ryla. The sentinel drew a dagger and got into a basic academy stance. "Who are you?" the human asked. "I should be asking you the same thing," Ryla responded. "How did you get here? Humans aren't supposed to be here." How should I know? The human waved his arms, signifying his confusion. Ryla sighed. She remembered a situation like this that she was taught to handle in the academy. The night elf remembered that humans were mentally tortured by merely insulting their abilities. However, Ryla was told not to take it too far, for humans could fight a tyrant barehanded should they get angry enough. Figures. A human can be so predictable sometimes, not knowing what should be known. Ryla shook her head in embarrassment. However, she stopped as soon as she felt it. It was like a nudge, her call telling her that she would be hurt. The night elf sensed that the weird thing was coming from the human. The human must be powerful in order to give their opponent the feeling of a preview of their pain. Never call me predictable, the human growled. Naruto was confused. First, a really attractive, purple, long-eared girl with silver hair wakes him up, then threatens his abilities. Suddenly, at the littlest of Naruto's killer intent, the girl froze up. So, yeah, Naruto was very confused. I believe we have transported to another world, Kit, QB commented. Yeah, Nota Sherlock. Naruto responded. Who the fuck is Sherlock? QB roared. Naruto mentally shrugged. Some guy I read about in a book. Okay, now back to business. QB said. I could possibly get us back, but we'd need something able to augment our chakra twofold. Then I'd have enough chakra to warp in a dimensional hole that I can direct with accuracy. If I didn't have enough I could possibly miss, then we'd have to try again. Okay, but right now, let's try to find out how to do that. All right. Oh, and the hot purple chick threw that giant shuriken at you, QB said before he went to sleep. Shit. Naruto mentally cursed as he barely kawaramied before the glaive hit him. Ryla blinked with confusion. While the human was in a daze, she had thrown the glaive, only to hit log where the human had been. Was she hallucinating? Her calls were answered when she felt sharp cold steel poke at her neck. She turned and found two mesmerizing blue cerulean eyes staring deep into hers. The night elf couldn't help but blush. It isn't very nice trying to slice people in half, you know? Naruto whispered. Suddenly, he felt a poke to his abdomen. He turned to find a girl who looked like Ryla, only with leafy green hair. She was pointing a spear to his liver. And it isn't very nice trying to slit people's throats, you know? The other girls said. Scylla. Ryla cried out happily. Scylla was Ryla's twin sister. They were almost identical, except for the hair. Naruto sighed. Geez, I'm a chick magnet, whether for bad or for good. But I'd still trade my life for yours any day. QB laughed. Ooh, twins. Now my dream last night can come true. Naruto smiled beneath his mask. The two night elf girls started blushing and sputtering. And while they were doing that, Naruto grabbed Scylla's spear, snapped it in half, tripped both girls, and sat on them. Hey, get off. Ryla struggled. Why? So you can kill me? Naruto asked. Exactly. Scylla retorted. Fine, but only if you escort me to your leader, Naruto said. This is starting to sound like some weird sci-fi movie. QB mentally commented. Shut up. Naruto sighed. Fine. The twins grumbled. Oh, and one more condition. What? The twins shouted. You take off your armor. Needless to say, some of Jiraiya's perverted habits had rubbed off on the young blonde. Translations: Shinobi, Ninja Shodame, First Hokage, Fire Shadow, Leader of Konoha, Konoha, Leaf, short for Konohagakure no Sato, Village of the Hidden Leaf, Dobe, Dead Last Team, Bastard, Hakadabetsu Chidori, 1000 Flapping Birds, Anakin Rasengan, Demon Fist Spiraling Sphere, Kurin, suffix used for familiarity to a male baka, Idiot, Godame 5th, Sannin, 3 Ninja, trained by Sarutobi, the Sandame Hokage, Sama, suffix used for higher-class people, Haim, suffix for princesses Bachan, Old Woman, Aniki, Brother, Kaiten, Heavenly Spin, Nami no Kuni, Land of Waves, Takigakure, Hidden Waterfall, short for Takigakure no Sato, Village of the Hidden Waterfall, Suna, Sand, short for Sunagakure no Sato, Village of the Hidden Sand, Suetun, Water Element Jutsu, Technique, Ninjutsu, Ninja Techniques Jounin, High-Level Ninja Taijutsu, Body Techniques. Review please. Johnny. Telling stories in a dream. Notes. Holy crap, 20+ reviews in the first chapter. Maybe I should abandon Poke What and focus on this, and dimensional travel is confusing. By the way, I'm just kidding. I'd never abandon my stories. Disclaimer. I don't own Naruto. Except the fish-based kind. I own some of that. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 2. Telling stories in a dream. You take off your armor, Naruto had calmly stated. What? The twins shouted so loud. All the bats in a cave fell from their perches on the cave roof. A pack of dire wolves started howling, and a nearby kobold exploded. Geez, I was just kidding, Naruto said while he poked at his ear with his pinky. Yeah, right, you pervert. Slyus screamed as she thrashed and struggled from under Naruto. Meanwhile, Riya was blushing again. A/N. By the way, Riya and Slyus are your typical identical twins with different personalities. Riya is the shy, calculating twin, while Slyus is the brash, confident twin. Naruto sighed. So will you take me to your commander or not? Slyus huffed as she stopped struggling. Fine, but if you try anything perverted on me or on my sister, I'll kill you. Deal. Various night elves of different ages, ranks, and classes looked strangely at the three people walking down the outpost's main hall. Young females were wondering about the human boy. The boy had deep, mesmerizing cerulean blue eyes that seemed like they could see through, past, over, into, and at you at the same time. He also had spiky golden locks that many bet felt like the finest of silks. And even though he wore a mask, some of his facial features were visible through the cloth. An angular jaw, slim cheeks, and an almost perfect nose were among the features visible. This left many night elf females dreamily looking at him like he was a deity sent by Elune herself. Meanwhile, Naruto was oblivious to it all. The twins were mostly ignoring the odd stares. Then the group neared a large double doorway. Riya opened one side and motioned Naruto to enter. The blonde nodded and proceeded to step into the room. It looked a lot like the Hokage's office, only with different designs to the furniture, floor, and walls. Seated at the desk in the middle of the room was a male night elf with a gnarly staff that looked like it was made of a root on his back. He was currently writing on a piece of parchment on his desk. The night elf looked to be about in his late 20s, also relatively young. His eyes held the hidden wisdom and power of a druid. The druid was Tyus Starhounder, the older brother of Slyus and Riya, and commanding officer of the Darkshore's southern outpost. The druid looked up and spotted his sisters and a human stranger. Slyus, Riya, what brings you here? And what's with the human? The commander asked. We found him a mile south on the beach, Tyus, Slyus said. He wouldn't answer our questions, so we brought him back here for interrogation. He came back willingly. I see. Tyus studied Naruto. The shinobi stood unwavering under the druid's stare. Riya and Slyus watched with interest. Normally, even an orc would give at least a small shudder, but this human shrugged it off easily. Tyus hummed as his stare intensified. Naruto looked back at him. Staring is rude, you know, Naruto stated calmly. Tyus blinked. Then he started to laugh. Slyus and Riya were confused. Humorous, I like him, Tyus nodded. He held his out to the shinobi. I am Tyus Starhounder, Slyus and Riya's older brother, and commanding officer of this outpost. Nice to meet you. Naruto shook his hand. The feeling is mutual, except I'm not into guys. The two then broke out into a hearty laughter. Slyus and Riya still watched with confusion. This human had made their normally serious and stoic brother laugh and act like a child. Naruto wiped a tear of mirth from his eye. Haha, woo, that was good. I agree, Tyus smiled. But I inquire, what is a human doing in Darkshore alone? They are not permitted to be on the shores after dark. Naruto smiled as well. Actually, I have no idea how I got here. In fact, I don't know which world this is, what its history is, what you guys are, and why I have been sent here. Tyus and the twins blinked confusedly. Slyus was first to respond. What do you mean by that? I mean that I'm not from this world, Naruto said. Slyus and Riya's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Oh, and what world are you from? Slyus said, reaching for her dagger. We don't really have a name for our world, Naruto explained. But I'd be happy to tell you of it, in exchange for information on this world. Very well, Tylyrus nodded. Please, inform us of your origins. What? The green-haired twin shouted. You're going to let him talk. He might be a demon in disguise, or an orc, or something else evil. Suddenly, the air in the room began to swirl and move in fast speeds. The night elves turned towards Naruto, who had his left hand out. A bluish energy was swirling into a ball in his hand, moving and churning the surrounding air in the process. Naruto was creating a Rasengan. He used the least amount of chakra possible to create the glowing blue sphere. The blonde then placed the now completed sphere on a wall. The sphere exploded, leaving a foot-deep, spiral-shaped indent in the wall. I assure you, miss, that although I have strange powers, I am no demon, Naruto calmly said. And if you riot me like that again, you'll find yourself looking like that wall. Then the Jinchuriki appeared behind Scylla. And by the way, I used the lowest amount of energy possible for that last attack. Scylla and her siblings were in awe of the human's power. Tylyrus, although still impressed, was mostly wondering what type of energy the human had used. It felt different from the normal mana that mages and other casters use. It definitely wasn't the type that rouges and warriors use. The druid was curious to what else the strange energy could do. Soon his curiosity from the strange energy overwhelmed his curiosity for the blonde's origins. Very impressive human, Tylyrus said as he stood up. That energy interests me. I would like to see more of it in action. Would you care for a spar? Naruto nodded. Sure thing. Tylyrus and Naruto stood out on the beach just outside the outpost. Most of the outpost's staff and guards were outside as well, watching the spar between the newcomer and their commander. All right, then, the druid trailed off. Oh, Naruto exclaimed. The blonde slapped his forehead. My name is Naruto. Naruto, eh? Sounds Pandaren. But anyways, Tylyrus said as he drew his staff. This is a basic spar, with hand-to-hand combat and any non-lethal techniques and spells. We are allowed to use weapons. So a spar with taijutsu and only low B2 rank jutsus. Alrighty, Naruto thought. He settled into one of the stances for a taijutsu style he had learned over his travels. It was called the Murukan. The style revolved on the power of centripetal force and how the power of the hits build up with each continuous millisecond of moving. It was one of his favorites, as with the proper speed, the style could rival the Goken. The starting stance included his right foot out front with his left behind it, and his arms rose up at his sides, with the palms facing outwards, making him look like he was trying to fly. Many snickered at the ridiculous position Naruto was in. Some even joked around and called him the human canary. The Jinchuriki vowed to make them eat their words. Tylyrus analyzed the stance and blinked. This style is unknown to me. What is it called? It is called the Murukan, which in my language means circle fist, Naruto said, slightly waving his arms. All right then, let's get started, the druid stated as he began to chant for a spell. Databeo, Naruto shouted as he began to spin his body and arms in various directions. He rotated quickly with his arms still out, and somehow still keeping balanced. The blonde began to run towards Tylyrus, still spinning his arms. Tylyrus finished his chant and slammed the butt of his staff into the ground. Entangling roots, Tylyrus said. Thorny roots burst from the sand and tried to wrap around the twirling blonde. Naruto jumped into the air before the roots touched him. The way his way spinning, it made him look like a yellow-orange-black blurred ball. Take this, the blonde shouted as he made contact with Tylyrus. The druid barely had enough time to raise his staff to block before he was hit with a barrage of powerful hits from the spinning Naruto. Unfortunately for him, some hits managed to get through. Note to self, Naruto's hits hurt. The night elf thought as he began chanting again, while trying to block to the best of his abilities. The blonde didn't waver a bit from his seemingly endless barrage of strikes. Tylyrus almost stopped chanting from shock when his staff began to chip away from the relentless blows. But instead, the druid strengthened his resolve. Moonfire, the druid shouted as he jumped back to disengage from the raging ball of ramen-loving fury. Naruto, however, was moving too much. and his momentum couldn't stop him from dodging the blue light shooting down from the heavens. "Arg!" the blonde shouted as he was blown back by the resulting explosion. That was the weakness of the Marukan. The user would have lessened dodging capabilities when using the Marukan. The style focused on the saying the best defense is a good offense, along with the fact that the waving arms would have probably blocked most attacks. "This is it. Time to get him while he's down," the druid thought. He began to chant rapidly. "Rejuvenation," the druid said. A yellowish glow surrounded him as his wounds began to heal. While this was happening, the druid kept on chanting. "Bear form." Tylyrus half shouted and half growled. Fur sprouted from his pores, and his face lengthened into a snout. His back and rump enlarged, and the muscles on his arms and legs grew as thick as a small tree trunk. He normally silver eyes grew a green iris and a slitted pupil. The druid's robes were absorbed into the transformation. Tylyrus grew large claws and sharp teeth attached to a jaw strong enough to break bone. Tylyrus had become a bear. Like the name of the spell wasn't enough of a clue. Naruto gaped at the druid's transformation. He shook himself out of it and stood up with his hands in the tiger seal. Many wondered what he was doing. "I didn't think I'd have to use any jutsu in this spar," Naruto thought as he began to fly through hand seals. Tylyrus charged at the blonde, roaring like a bear. "Take this, Katon. Gokaku no Jutsu." Naruto took a deep breath and blew, somehow passing through his cloth mask without undamaging it. A giant fireball shot at the charging bear. The druid, in transformation, stopped and tried to dodge, but it was too late. The fireball hit the night elf. The resulting explosion sent the now normal night elf flying back into the twins. Scylla and Ryla barely caught him. "Oops. I guess I overdid it." Naruto grinned sheepishly. "You think?" the twins screamed simultaneously. "So Naruto, care to tell us about your world?" the recovered druid asked. He had several bandages wrapped around various parts of his body. Not even a rejuvenation healed that much. Naruto nodded. "Very well. My world consists of two great continents, the metallic countries and the elemental countries. The two continents have almost no knowledge of each other. I am from the elemental countries, so I won't be able to tell you of the metallic countries. The elemental countries are comprised of 5 major countries and several smaller ones. The major factions are Hai no Kuni, Mizu no Kuni, Kaze no Kuni, Rai no Kuni, and Tsuchi no Kuni. The smaller countries include Taki no Kuni, Yuki no Kuni, Nami no Kuni, and several others. The major countries each have a military base, or hidden village. In each of these villages are led by their strongest soldier, or ninja, as we call ourselves. They are called the Hokage, Mizukage, Reikage, Kazekage, and Tsuchikage. I was once a resident of one of these hidden villages and aspired to be its leader. I once lived in Kanahagakure no Sato, or village of the hidden leaves, and wanted to become a Hokage, the greatest actually. I am intrigued, Tylyrus nodded. "Please, tell us about yourself and life now." "All right, well, I was born on October 10. Naruto described his entire life, leaving out the Kyuubi, and described his red chakra as a bloodline limit. The blonde also talked about them too. He explained the Sharingan, the Byakugan, and even Haku's ice manipulation. He told the siblings of his adventures, from Takigakure all the way to Yukigane. Naruto even trusted the twins and their brother enough to tell them of the Sasuke incident. Scylla and Ryla gave their sympathy at that. The Night Elves were in silent shock when Naruto stopped. When Tylyrus shook out of it, he told Naruto Azeroth's history from the Night Elves' point of view. It started from the birth of the world, to the War of the Ancients, to Archimonde's defeat, to Malfurion's sleep, to the present time. Naruto nodded, signifying that he understood. "Thank you for informing me." The blonde stood and began to walk to the doorway. "Naruto, where are you going?" Ryla asked. The blonde turned. "I'm going out to find some way to get me back home." "Well, maybe I can help?" the silver-haired twin asked. Naruto bore a look of surprise. "Why would you want to help me?" Well," the night elf began twiddling her fingers in a similar way that Hinata does. "I just want to help out after hearing your story. I feel that I should help you get home." Naruto smiled under his mask. "Thanks, Ryla-chan." Ryla blushed again at the sudden affectionate addition to her name. The siblings were told of the meanings of the suffixes. Silas sighed. I might as well go too. Otherwise, Whiskers would try something really stupid and get them both killed, or do something perverted on Ryla. Who the hell are you calling stupid? You walking grape, the blonde retorted. I'm calling you stupid, Mr. I'm missing the bottom half of my face, Scylla remarked. She was obviously referring to his mask. Yeah, well, you're really charming, Miss Treehair. I'm sure that really goes far with guys, Naruto responded. Scylla huffed. Like anyone would want to be with an idiot like you, she shouted. The two faced off like this for a while, trading remarks ranging from Naruto's shoe size to Scylla's eyelash length. The other two siblings merely sweat-dropped. Translations: Rasengan, Spiraling Sphere Murukan, Circle Fist, Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu, Fire Element, Strong Fireball Technique, Sharingan, Copy Wheel Eye Byakugan, Pale Eye. Review please. Dreams with Snakes, Girls and More Girls. Notes: since some of you guys PM me about this, the twins are about LVL 18, and if Naruto was applicable, he'd be around LVL 45. Tylyrus is LVL 36. By the way, Naruto is not a warrior, hunter, rogue, druid, or anything, so he won't be able to use the skills the characters in WoW know, but he will be able to use jutsu similar to them. Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto. If I did, I'd be a character, and Naruto and I would have hordes of fangirls at our feet. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 3. Dreams with Snakes, Girls, and More Girls. A woman woke up from her sleep. She had a strange dream. She dreamed of her lover regularly, but this time it was different. This dream had her lover informing her of a great war to come, and the savior of the world of Azeroth. Look for him. He is an angel, with an inner demon. He is happy, yet filled with horrible pain and sadness. He is strange, yet familiar. Seek the spiral, the cross, and the gem, were the cryptic words of her lover. He showed her a blurry image fighting hordes of demons. All the woman could see was blonde hair, blue eyes, a black trench coat, and a cloth mask. The high priestess and leader of the Sisters of Elune, Tyrant, Whisperwind, sat up in her bed. She quickly ran over to her desk and began to write a letter to the nearby ports. It was dawn. 3 figures walked down a sandy beach, silhouetted by the morning sun. One was the shy hunter, Ryla Starhounder, the other, her brash warrior sister, Scylla Starhounder. They were wearing identical green leather padded armor, although Scylla's was slightly thicker. In between them was the Konoha shinobi, Uzumaki Naruto, who was currently yawning. Why did we leave so early again? The blonde asked, as he sleepily scratched his cheek through his cloth mask. It would take a day's trip to get to the nearest port to ship us to Darnassus, Ryla explained. We could have just gone out at noon, camped, then continued, Naruto deadpanned. Scylla convinced our older brother to have us leave before morning, the silver-haired girl explained. And why would she do that? Naruto gave a weak, tired glare in the green-haired girl's direction. I won't risk camping out with a pervert like you, Scylla retorted. Who knows what you would have done? You could have stolen all our underwear, for all we know. Oh, come on, sister. Naruto was just joking around when he told us to remove our armor. I'm sure he didn't mean it, Ryla backed Naruto up. The blonde gave her an eye smile and a quiet, thanks Ryla, Chan. She blushed at that. How could you say that, sis? Scylla looked shocked. Then the green-haired twin became suspicious. Unless? Scylla leaned in to whisper into Ryla's ear without Naruto hearing. You don't like him, do you? What? Ryla screamed out, blushing a fine red, which clashed with the purple hue of her skin. No, 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 of course not. What are you girls talking about? The Jinchuriki asked. Oh, I was just asking if sis likes yo. The warrior didn't have time to finish as a hand slapped over her mouth. It belonged to Ryla, who was still blushing. Yodeling, the silver-haired twin interrupted. She means yodeling. And yes, I do. Yodeling? Naruto asked. I tried some yodeling while in Yukiguni once. I nearly caused an avalanche. Man, the team was angry that I got snow in his underwear. The blonde started to laugh, forgetting about what the sisters were doing. Ryla let out her held breath and started to laugh with him. Scylla, having nothing else better to do, laughed as well, although it was muffled under her twin's hand. Unbeknownst to them, a figure was watching from under the waters. A deep hiss escaped his scaly lips. Night elves. Oh, how he hated those purple-skinned landwalkers. Humans came in as a close second to his hatred. There was a group of 3 that had entered his territory a while ago. The creature had usually ignored the night elf patrols that periodically came into territory, but the night elves in this group were different. They smelled like his old enemy from the past, when Illidan first called them out of the sea. A starhounder. Furushibaku no jutsu. Night elf villagers screamed as serpentine figures slaughtered them. The serpents laughed as they kept killing their land-walking distant relatives. The serpents from the sea were called the naga, the terror of the tides. They were the mutated remnants of the highborn that was blasted into the sea, along with their queen, Ashara, at the sundering. The half-demon night elf, Illidan Stormrage, had called upon their stored hatred for the night elves and brought the Naga's fury to bear against the coastal night elf villages along Darkshore. One in particular, the leading officer, a high-ranking Myrmidon, Slyus Wavescale, hissed in pain as an arrow suddenly struck his side. All the Naga forces turned to the source of the arrow. A night elf, Sentinel's battalion stood at the gates to the village. They were led by a warden, Maev Shadowsong, Illidan Stormrage's former jailer. "It's Maev," Illidan shouted in surprise. He turned towards his forces. "Destroy all the boats. Don't let them follow me." "Yes, my lord," Slyus nodded. The Myrmidon was disgusted that he was being forced to kill his former people, which he still secretly loved. But alas, he had to, for if he didn't he'd be a target to his master's wrath. The demonic night elf and his royal guard boarded a ship and they sailed away. "No, don't let them destroy all the boats," Maev barked. The sentinels charged. Huntresses, riding their night saber panthers and wielding bouncing glaives, practically ran over the first line of Morgul slaves. Archers and dryads, with their poisoned arrows and spears, shot barrages at the sirens. One huntress turned towards Slyus and glared at him. The Myrmidon let out a deep growl. He raised his trident and began to slither towards the huntress at a surprising speed. The sentinel let out a battle cry as she and her panther charged at Slyus. The huntress stood on her mount and jumped off of it. The panther growled as it jumped towards the naga. Slyus let out a hiss as the black cat latched onto his arm. The Myrmidon quickly slapped the panther with the flat side of his trident. The cat yelped as it let go of the serpent's arm and fell to the ground. The naga grabbed the cat by the scruff of its neck and threw it towards a nearby dryad. Then a shadow began to descend upon the naga's figure. The Myrmidon looked up and saw the huntress's falling form. The night elf roared as she threw her glaive with all her might at the serpent warrior. It sliced through the naga's side. Slyus hissed as it cut through his scales and ripped apart his insides. The huntress scowled at the Myrmidon's fallen form. "Remember my name and tell it to those in hell, you serpent," the huntress said. "I am Riya Starhounder." Slyus fell unconscious as the tides reclaimed their fallen warrior. Furushibaku no jutsu, Kai. Slyus gripped his side, remembering the almost fatal wound he received. When the naga had awakened, the night elves had already won and left to chase after Illidan. The former Myrmidon had wandered the shore, alone for 100 years. He eventually found a suitable territory to live in, where he kept monitoring the night elves' movements, hoping someday his master would come back. A/N. The timeline is set 100 years after Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, and 20 years after World of Warcraft, The Burning Crusade. Now, all the Myrmidon wanted was revenge. Naruto and the twins continued their trek towards the nearest dock. The blonde, feeling bored, decided to know a little bit more about his companions. "So, Ryla-chan, who are your parents?" the Jinchuriki asked. "Our parents?" Ryla blinked. Then she smiled. "Our parents are Gallus Moonflyer and Riya Starhounder. Our mother, Riya, is famous for taking part in the attempted recapture of the betrayer Illidan Stormrage." "Stormrage? Isn't the guy Tylyrus said was in a coma, named Stormrage? Is that him?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. No, the one in the coma is Shandu Malfurion Stormrage, the first Night Elf druid. Illidan is his half-demon brother. He was named Betrayer for siding with the Highborn and demons during the War of the Ancients. He later was vital in the Third War for killing the Nathrazim Dreadlord, Tichondrius, the leader of the undead forces in Kalimdor. Illidan did this by absorbing the demonic powers of an artifact called the Skull of Gul'dan, which he killed Tichondrius with, Scylla explained. But at the cost of becoming a half-demon, Ryla joined in. Illidan then returned sometime later. He called up a serpentine race from the sea, called the Naga. The Naga are, in fact, the mutated and twisted highborn that were blasted into the ocean during the Sundering. The Naga then attacked coastal villages on this very beach. But our mother's commanding officer and Illidan's former jailer, Maev Shadowsong, killed the invading Naga and forced Illidan into the Broken Isles. Our mother stayed behind to repair the damage, eventually meeting our father, a survivor. They fell in love and moved to Darnassus, the capital. What about your parents? Scylla asked. Naruto smiled sadly under his mask. I never knew my parents. They died on the day I was born when a powerful demon named the Kyubi attacked my village. Or at least, that was what I was told. I lived alone for most of my life, cast out of the orphanage at age 6. Oh, Scylla grew somber. Even though she disliked Naruto, she suddenly felt like slapping herself for bringing up a sad memory. Suddenly, the water near the shoreline exploded outwards, spraying the 3 travelers with water. Starhounders, you will die here today, a hissing voice shouted. A net flew out of the water. It hit Naruto so hard, he flew into the tree, which the net twisted around, binding the blonde to it. Naruto, the twins shouted in surprise. A figure burst out of the water and slithered onto the beach. It had a bulky, muscular body, with a large fin coming out of its back. The figure also had a snake-like tail, no legs, and shining teal scales. Its head was almost draconic, with gills and fins sprouting from its cheeks. The serpent wielded a trident and had nets attached to a scaly belt to its waist. A Naga Myrmidon, the green-haired twin shouted, recalling her lessons from the academy. She quickly detached her spear from her back and pointed it threateningly at the serpent. Stay back, you guild freak. Slyus raised a scaly eyebrow. He raised his trident and brought it down on the spear, chopping it in half. Scylla's sweat dropped at the stick she was holding. Well, that didn't work out so well. She screamed as the trident was raised again. The Naga was fully intent on slicing the warrior in half. The 3-pronged spear, however, was blocked by Ryla's glaive. Scylla, get out of here, the silver-haired twin shouted. Her knees nearly gave way from the force of the blow. No way, Ryla. We're sticking together, Scylla said as she drew her sword from its scabbard at her waist. Skyos's eyes narrowed at the glaive Ryla was using. He hissed in anger. That glaive. It's the very same glaive that blasted Starhounder used to wound me. The twins glanced at the scar in the Naga's left side. Ryla gasped. You're the Naga our mother told us about. The one she defeated at the Battle of Nindies, the hunter exclaimed. Skyos chuckled evilly. Yes, I am the Myrmidon she defeated 100 years ago, and I plan to take my revenge on you. A/N. By the way, to those who aren't familiar to WoW, night elves live a regular of thousands years. The more powerful can go to tens of thousands of years. Same goes to Naga and Blood Elves. The Myrmidon suddenly retracted his trident, making Ryla go unbalanced. He backhanded the night elf into his sister. They fell onto the sand with an oof. Scylla's sword skidded a few feet away, and Ryla's glaive got stuck in the sand next to the Naga. Prepare to die, Landwalker. Skyos roared. He raised his trident and prepared to strike down at the twins in the sand. Ryla and Scylla shut their eyes and prepared for the worst. Suddenly, the Naga felt it. Least, it felt similar to it. It was the demonic aura Illidan radiated whenever he was angry. Skyos felt it only once, when Illidan had seen Maev at the Battle of Nindies. Now a similar aura had appeared. Skyos looked around to find the source of the aura. He didn't find it, but he did find that the net binding the human was ripped to shreds. The said human was nowhere to be found. The Myrmidon suddenly thrust his trident into the area above him. The trident found its mark. Unfortunately, the twins chose this time to open their eyes. They were greeted to the sight of the Naga with his trident pointed upwards, impaling a figure. The figure had blonde hair and a black trench coat. Naruto! The twins screamed. Naruto had taken the trident to the chest. Insolent whelp, Slyus hissed. He jerked his trident to the side, flinging the blonde off his weapon. But then the Naga noticed that no blood was shed when he pierced the Jinchuriki's skin. The Kage Bunshin poofed out of existence as 4 others burst out of the ground. "Take this!" the 4 clones shouted simultaneously. "Uzumaki!" They kicked the Naga into the air as the real Naruto appeared in the air above him. Naruto Rindan. He sent a chakra-empowered axe kick into the Naga's chest, sending the Myrmidon crashing into the beach, making sand spray a bit everywhere. Slyus twitched a bit in his little crater before losing consciousness. Scylla and Riya gaped as the Kage Bunshins dispelled themselves. Naruto landed next to the twins and smiled at them through his mask. "You girls okay?" he asked. "Okay. Okay. Do we look okay?" Scylla shouted as she stood up. She motioned to the scratches on her body and the light bruise of Riya's face, even though it was hardly noticeable with her purple skin. "We were almost killed." Sorry," the blonde said. Then he was engulfed in a hug by the green-haired twin. Naruto was very confused. The keyword was almost. "If you weren't here, I'm sure we would have been killed." "So thanks," Scylla said, a light blush on her face. "Just don't get any perverted ideas from this. This hug is only as a thank you." Okay," the blonde nodded. Even though she told him not to, he couldn't really resist. I mean, what guy wouldn't get ideas from being hugged by an attractive girl with a C-cup? He blushed at the things pressed against his chest. As soon as she let go, Naruto turned towards the Naga. "So, that's a Naga, eh?" "Yep," Riya said as her sister helped her up. "In fact, it's the same Naga our mother fought during the Battle of Nindies, which is the port we're going to." Scylla turned towards the blonde. "By the way, what were those things that looked like you?" "Those were Kage Bunshins, or shadow clones. They were named as they could do everything the summoner can. Higher-level ones can even think on their own, independent from the summoner. It is my signature technique," Naruto explained. "You can summon? Like a warlock?" the silver-haired twin asked. "Well, I don't know what a warlock is, but yeah, I can summon, including my Kage Bunshin and others," Naruto nodded. Kage Bunshins are very useful for things like housework and rudimental chores. They are even good for information gathering and training, as everything the Kage Bunshin learns transfers to the summoner when they are dispelled. "What was that combination attack?" Scylla asked. The twins picked up their fallen weapons. "It's called the Naruto Rendan, or Maelstrom Combo," Naruto explained. "It's comprised of 4 of my Kage Bunshins kicking the target into the air, and then I send a powerful axe kick into the target's face, chest, or stomach, sending them into the ground." "So wait, your name means Maelstrom?" the warrior asked. "That and fish-based," Naruto nodded. "Fish-based?" Scylla's sweat dropped. "Fish-based?" Naruto confirmed. Scylla stared at him for a moment. Then she burst out in uncontrollable laughter. "Ha ha ha, fish-based. That's hilarious." "Stop that, it's not funny," he growled. Then he sighed in defeat as Riya joined her sister. "Not Riya-chan too. Oh well. Might as well finish this," Naruto said as he approached the Naga. He made for Kage Bunshins and ordered them to pick up the fallen Myrmidon. The clones picked up the serpent, with some effort, and laid him down on a flat rock. They dispelled themselves as Naruto picked up the trident on the sand and put it next to the Naga, but not before attaching a note to it. The twins saw what he was doing and stopped their laughing. "Naruto, what are you doing?" Scylla asked. "Shouldn't we kill him?" "I'm giving him another chance. I sense that there is more good in him than some of the people I've met in my past. But it is blocked by many things: fear, vengeance, and most of all, loneliness," Naruto explained as he began to walk away. "That note I attached will hopefully clear that up." "What? How would you know that?" the green-haired twin asked. Naruto stopped and then turned towards the twins. His eyes shined with a deep determination and piercing bravado which many females, and some males, would melt to. Many have joked about how my eyes could see through their very souls. They don't know how right they are. The 15-year-old continued on his way. The twins shook out of their blushing daze and rushed after him. Ryla wondered if Naruto was a sort of prophet in his world. Scylla wondered if there was more to the pervert that meets the eye. Skyos awoke to a deep starry sky. He looked around and found himself on a rock on the beach where he battled. The Naga's face twisted into a look of pure anger. "Argh!" the Myrmidon shouted, smashing his fist onto the rock. "I was defeated again. How could I have let some human whelp do that?" The Naga looked at his trident, which was laid out next to him. He plucked the note attached to it and read it. It read, "You are lonely. I understand this loneliness, the pain of having no one to talk to, the cold feeling of having no one else but your shadow. If you want to fix it, then fix it. Go look for someone else. You are afraid. I too understand this fear. The fear of having your people hate you for your differences, for your love of Kalimdor and its people. In fact, my fear is taken to the next level, as my fellow villagers hated me for something I was born with. I lived with the fear and still followed my dreams, and I believe you can as well. You are blinded by vengeance. I, although never followed its ideals, am still experienced with its horrors. My best friend, brother actually, almost killed me as I was in his way for revenge. Would you kill a loved one to sate your vengeance?" As he finished reading it, the serpent's eyes were wide with shock. Someone had understood his situation. Skyos smiled a draconic smile. He slithered back into the sea, but this time he left his territory. Skyos was now searching for more of his brethren, but not the Naga following Illidan or Azhara, rather the Naga that were banished from the sunken city for disobeying the Naga queen, or the ones that the sea witch, Lady Vashj, left behind in her and Kale's hurry to get to Outland. The Naga planned to make his own clan with the exiled and ones left behind, one that defied Azhara's forces and hopefully bring peace to Azeroth's oceans. And he wanted to, someday, be able to meet the human again, to thank him. Naruto and the twins finally reached the port of Nindies. As they neared the gates, the sentinel guards told them to stop. "What is your business here?" one asked. "We are here to port to Darnassus," Ryla explained. The guard nodded. "Very well, but the human cannot go with you." "What? Why not?" the green-haired twin asked. Priestess Tyrant had just passed a new law. Human, dwarves, and any other alliance members are not allowed on Darnassus anymore, she said. "The other capital cities of the alliance have been recently cut off from our communications. Priestess Tyrant fears that something has happened and strengthened security. Now only night elves are allowed on the capital island." "But we need to talk to the High Priestess," the silver-haired twin exclaimed. "I'm sorry, but—" Suddenly an owl perched on the guard's shoulder, holding a rolled-up message in its beak. She took the message, unrolled it, and then read it. The guard's eyebrows shot up. "Well, this is odd." She gave the message to the owl, which flew away. The guard cleared her throat. "It seems Priestess Tyrant wants to see a human with blonde hair, blue eyes, black trench coat, and a cloth mask, which fits the human's description. Sue, he's allowed to go to Teldrassil. Just show this note to the people at the dock." Naruto blinked as he took the note the guard held out to him. Wow, talk about lucky. The three walked through the village, heading towards the dock. And like back at the outpost, many females were staring at them, or more specifically Naruto. And once again, Naruto was oblivious, although this time the twins didn't ignore the stares and wondered about them. Suddenly, a pair of visiting human girls came up to them. They immediately wrapped their arms around the young shinobi. "Well, hey there, big boy, who are you?" one said as she trailed her finger on his jaw. The other trailed her hand down his back, eliciting a shiver from the Jinchuriki. Naruto gulped. "I'm Naruto." "Naruto, huh? Sounds Pandaren," said the girl with her hand trailing down his back. "Speaking of them, I hear they make the best ale in all of Azeroth." The girl suddenly pinched Naruto's butt, making him yelp. "And I wouldn't mind getting drunk with you tonight." The twins grabbed Naruto's shoulders and pulled him out of the girls' grasps. "Sorry, girls, but he's with us," Scylla said. "Well, I don't see your name on him," one retorted. Yeah, so share him, the other said as she pulled on Naruto's arm. No, Ryla shouted as she grabbed the blonde's other arm. The twins and the human girls began a game of tug-o-war. A crowd began to gather around them. Girls? Naruto asked. He felt his arms pop as the females pulled harder. Girls? Girls? They continued to pull. A vein popped on the blonde's forehead. Oi! The females stopped and looked at him confusedly. What is it, Naruto? Ryla asked. The Jinchuriki sighed. I would appreciate it if you would let me have my arms back. The four girls let go of Naruto's arms. Suddenly a blur shot out, the crowd gathered around them and attached itself to the back on Naruto's head. It stuck a flag on a suction cup on the blonde's forehead. The flag said, "Claim." He's mine now, the female gnome said from its perch on the blonde's head. Naruto's sweat dropped. Could you please get off of my head? Yeah, get off of my future husband, a female night elf shouted from the crowd. Your husband? He's mine, another girl remarked. If I is tall enough, I'd kick all your arses. A female dwarf shook her fist at them. So this is how Sasuke feels, Naruto thought. Suddenly, every single girl in the crowd, and a few guys, dogpiled on top of Naruto, producing a large cloud of dust. Any male unlucky enough to be a foot's distance away was caught in a flurry of nails, feet, and the all-powerful feminine fangirl fury, FFF, the most dangerous thing in any world to a male. Nearby, a blonde burst out of the ground, bearing lipstick marks on several parts of his face and mask. He let out a huge sigh. Good thing I was wearing a mask, or else I would have been mouth-raped. Then he remembered the twins. Ah, crap. Naruto came in as closest as possible to the cloud of dust and quickly stuck his hands in. He pulled out the first thing he touched. Unfortunately, it was the girl that hand pinched him. And even more, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you think, he pulled her out by her assets. Oh, Naruto, I knew you'd pick me, the girl said, glomping on Naruto and pinching his butt again. The blushing blonde quickly pushed her back into the dust cloud. He made a mental note not to pull out anything too soft. Then he reached in again. Fortunately, he pulled out Ryla, but she tripped on a stray foot and toppled onto Naruto. The two then lay in an interesting position on the ground. Naruto was on the bottom, with his knees slightly bent and his arms around Ryla. Ryla was on top, her chest pressed firmly on Naruto's, and her legs spread wide open. Their faces were a mere inch apart. The blushing night elf quickly stood up, Naruto following after. Ryla mumbled as she blushed even harder. Let's just get Scylla, Naruto said as he averted his gaze, trying to futilely hide his blush, which peeked out visibly from under his mask. Right, the hunter said as she and Naruto neared the ever-dangerous FFF cloud. After several tries, they pulled, dragged really, a mad Scylla. Attached to the green-haired twin's foot was a female gnome, which the night elf was trying to detach. Get off! Scylla screamed as she stomped her foot on the gnome's head. The twin shook her foot violently. Eventually, the gnome flew off, landing back in the dust cloud. Let's get out of here, Ryla said as she and Naruto pulled Scylla back on her feet. The three then shot down the road towards the docks. Meanwhile, a blue-skinned figure watched on a nearby rooftop. She had long ears like the elves, although hers folded down into her hair. She had navy blue wavy locks that reached her waist, where a stormhammer was attached. She wore a navy blue t-shirt with a brown leather vest, along with black pants with metallic knee pads. The girl also had metal boots and bracers, with bluish gems on the back of her hands and forehead, similar to a certain Hokage's. Thin tentacle-like appendages stretched down from the back of her ears. Her body was as curvy and attractive as night elf females. It also seemed as if light was attracted to her bracers, knee pads, and boots. The gems, instead of attracting light, seemed to radiate it. She was Riku Ayashner, a Draenei shaman. Riku looked at the direction where Naruto and the twins headed off. That human is interesting, the Draenei said. Then she smirked. I should get to know him better. After a flash of bright light, she was gone. Review please. Nightmare Part 1. Notes. Not much to say except, read or die. Just kidding. No, Seriously, I was kidding. No, please don't stop reading my story. Please don't stop. Ahem. Please excuse my begging. Disclaimer. The day I own Naruto is the day he becomes emo. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 4. Nightmare Part 1. Naruto let out his held breath as the ship left the docks. No, Naruto, come back! His horde of fangirls screeched from the port. Naruto shuddered at the things Naruto would have lost had he been a bit slower, specifically a word starting with the letter V. The blonde sighed. I can't imagine how many guys would give their left eye, seven toes, and their thumbs to be in my place right now. Damn it. Fucking humans and their dexterous limbs, QB cursed. He stared grumpily at his thumbless front paws. Come on, Naruto. It won't be morning until we get to Teldrassil Island, Scylla yawned. Yeah, Naruto, let's get some sleep, Ryla yawned as well. The twins headed down the stairs leading into the ship's cabins. Wait for me, Ryla-chan, Scylla. Naruto followed them. Meanwhile, a certain blue-skinned teen watched them from the top of the mast. She smirked as she disappeared again in a bright flash of light. So we wait until the night elves and the human are separated, said a cackling, raspy voice. Yes. Once the human is nowhere near the night elves, we take them, said an equally dreadful tone. Lady Sylvanas wouldn't say no to more Alliance members to experiment on. The two undead laughed. Naruto couldn't sleep. He lay in his bed aboard the ship, quietly staring at the ceiling. The blonde couldn't shake the feeling that something horrible was going to happen tonight. He thought about the safety of his new friends. Naruto thought about his friends back at Konoha. Would he ever see them again? At least once? You're thinking about them again, aren't you? Kyubi said. Yeah, I just miss them a lot. Naruto replied. Well, stop it. How do I stop missing my friends? Why should you miss them? Most of your so-called friends laughed at you, dismissed you, or hated you at some point. Keywords are at some point. Kyubi. It means they used to hate me. But now they're my friends and most of them would protect me, as I would to them. They are my only family, Kyubi. I could never hold a grudge against them. What about that banshee that you liked? She beat you up when you had to do the necessary. Sakura. That girl no longer holds any of my affection. She was just a bump in the path of my and my friend's happiness, but I've passed that. Good. 3 years of you pining after her made my brain hurt. You have a brain? Haha, very funny, kid. Just wait until I'm free. I'll rip your face off then dash. Kyubi's rant was cut off with a blood-curdling scream. Naruto immediately recognized the voice. Ryla-chan. Shut her up. Laridius snapped his undead brother. Fine, fine, Trixer replied nonchalantly as he stuffed a gag into Ryla's mouth. The two rogues had assassinated all the guards aboard the ship, and most of the crew and passengers were civilians, so they had nothing to worry about. I'm sure no one heard it, though. You rotten corpses, just wait. When I get out of this rope, I'll dash, Silas said from the corner of the room. Trixer had stuffed a gag into her mouth as well. Geez, you girls are giving me a headache, the undead said. Stop whining, Trixer. We need to get these girls to the mainland where Morin will pick us up and we'll head to Agramar, Laridius said. Stop being so uptight, Trixer replied. Then Laridius slammed the younger rogue into the wall, pinning his throat with a forearm. When we were alive, Mother made me promise not to kill you. I honor that promise to this day, so consider yourself lucky, Laridius said harshly. Trixer gulped and nodded. Meanwhile, Naruto was listening through the door. He had heard the conversation going on between the undead brothers. He could help but wonder, who is Sylvanas? If you had paid attention to Tylyrus, you would have known that Sylvanas is the leader of the Forsaken, a renegade group of sentient undead that opposes the Scourge, Kyubi explained. Naruto's mouth made an O shape as he understood. But how do we get inside and defeat the undead without having the girls get hurt? Are you some kind of ultimate moron? You're a ninja, you idiot. A master of stealth and assassinations. And you ask me, a 50-story tall demon with flaming red fur, about stealth? Kyubi roared. Naruto had the decency to slap his forehead. The two undead brothers hefted the gagged and hog-tied girls onto their shoulders. Come on, Trixer. Let's go before someone finds us, Laridius said as he began to climb out the window opening through to the ocean. Suddenly, a voice sounded out. Sueton. Suijin Hiki, water from the sea, suddenly rose up and blocked the window. Then two kunais flew straight at the undead brothers' heads. Trixer and Laridius barely dodged the sharp knives, which embedded themselves into the wall. They looked at their opponent. It was the human. Very impressive human. You managed to catch me off guard, Laridius chuckled. Then the older brother grimaced. But you won't be able to do that again. Come on, you rotten baboon. Naruto retorted. The brothers placed down the girls and unsheathed their dual daggers. Naruto couldn't help but notice both of Laridius's daggers were glowing a sickly green and Trixer's were emanating a flaming red aura. Laridius grinned as he saw where the blonde's eyes were. You like our weapons? Well, how about we give them to you? The two undead charged and the battle was on. Translations: Sueton, Suijin Hiki, water release, water encampment wall. I know it's a short chapter, but I'm saving the rest of the battle for next chappy. Review please. Nightmare Part 2. Notes: this chapter is a little actiony for those who love having Naruto kick people's asses. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 5. Nightmare Part 2. Riku ran down the corridors of the night elf ship's hull. Occasionally, she'd pass by a dead guard, obviously the work of a pair of powerful rogues. The shaman stopped to close one guard's dull eyes, which were open and frozen in terror. Then she continued on her way. Naruto quickly got into his Marukan stance and charged. The two undead paid no heed to his strange stance and continued charging him. Suddenly Laridius shot forward, ahead of his brother. The undead rogue thrust his left dagger towards Naruto's stomach. The blonde spun his arm and blocked it, and used his momentum to add extra power to follow-up punch. Then at the last second, Laridius dodged to the left, spun like a top and rammed the hilt of his left dagger into Naruto's neck. The blonde gasped as he tripped and fell to the ground. Trixer used this momentary lull to jump onto the ceiling and propel himself from it towards the Jinchuriki. Naruto rolled to his feet and drew a kunai in each hand. Trixer collided with Naruto, clashing his blades with the blonde's kunais. They stood for a split second in a deadlock. Then the older undead brother appeared behind Naruto, preparing for a finishing swing. Naruto barely had time to kawarimi with a chair before a glowing dagger hit the place where his neck would have been. Trixer dug his flaming daggers out of the chair and faced Naruto. The blonde noticed the place on the chair where Trixer's daggers had hit were slightly burnt. Laridius chuckled darkly. You're a decent fighter. Surviving against my brother and me at half power for more than 30 seconds is impressive. Naruto's eyes widened. They were only using half their power? Trixer grinned maniacally. Let's take it up a notch, bro. Let's, the older brother responded. Suddenly, the air around the room grew thick with the smell of death. Naruto could barely breathe. The smell of rotting flesh was too overwhelming. Are you afraid, human? Do you fear our connection with your upcoming visit to the underworld? Laridius said, a dark gleam in his yellow glowing eyes. Naruto didn't want to admit it, but he was afraid. The aura the two undead were emitting was similar to killing intent. Only while killing, intent gave the feeling of coming pain. The aura gave the pure feeling of death. Then Riya gave a groan. Though she was unconscious and gagged, two words were heard. Naruto, help. Naruto glanced at her. She was straining, obviously feeling the aura of death. Naruto couldn't imagine what the aura was doing to her. But for now, the blonde turned his attention to the two undead. He drew a kunai and charged. Riku ran into a corridor that was clean of any corpses. She narrowed her eyes suspiciously. The corridor was way too clean. This was obviously a trap. She gasped as she realized what the trap could possibly be for. She ran with renewed determination. Naruto blocked a dagger thrust to his head with a kunai and threw a shuriken at Laridius's throat. The rogue dodged it and retaliated with a set of dagger thrusts and slashes. Naruto could barely block them with his kunai. Suddenly, Trixer appeared behind him and swept the blonde's feet right out from under him. Riya ran and ran. She ran down an endless corridor. She couldn't remember how this started, but all she remembered was seeing her twin and Naruto suddenly disappearing through a dark shadow. The night elf burst into a white room. It looked similar to her cabin room on the ship. What was inside the room shocked her. Standing in the middle of the room was Naruto. Naruto was bleeding. Bleeding from his eyes, his forehead, and his chest. His normally cheerful blue eyes were dull, and his colorful blonde hair was dulled and bland. Riya screamed as loud as she possibly could. Naruto grunted in pain as he fell on his back. He quickly rolled to the side to avoid Laridius's glowing dagger. The Jinchuriki rolled onto his feet, dipping his hand into his kunai pouch for another weapon. Then a sudden realization came over him. He used all of his weapons. He growled as he picked up a bent kunai from the ground. Most of the blonde's weapons were damaged by the undead brothers' daggers. Naruto used his other hand to grasp his side. He had several cuts and burn marks. The cuts were having trouble healing. The blonde concluded that the daggers were poison, and as such were delaying Kyuubi's chakra from healing his wounds. The burn marks were from Trickster's daggers. Is the human getting tired? Trickster mocked. Naruto tried to ignore his words, but he couldn't deny it. His muscles were aching, and he was slowly fatiguing. The blonde could barely keep up with the undead brothers, and soon, he wouldn't be able to. Riya cried over Naruto's corpse. She had pathetically used her tears to wash away the blood from Naruto's face. The girl had pulled down the blonde's mask. She was at first very surprised at how handsome he was. She knew about the boy's whisker-like birthmarks as he told the siblings about them, and they poked a bit over his mask, but she didn't think they were actually arranged like real whiskers. The silver-haired girl ran her thumb down the boy's whiskered face. She closed his eyes and sobbed into his unmoving chest. During the short time she knew the blonde, she had become very close friends with him. Seeing him dead like this made her emotions boil over, overwhelming the girl with stress. Riya hefted Naruto's body on her back and walked back down the hall where she came from, hopefully finding a way out of there. Give up, human, Laridius shouted. He was holding the blonde by his throat, lifting the smaller male up off the floor. Yeah, man, just give up already, Trickster commented. And never, Naruto spat out. To protect my friends. Suit yourself, whelp, the older brother said as he drew his dagger back, preparing to end the Jinchuriki's life. Oh no you don't, a voice shouted out from the doorway. Lightning bolt. A surge of electricity shot through the air and collided with Laridius. He dropped Naruto and was sent back flying into the wall. Bro, Trickster exclaimed. Flame shock. Suddenly the younger brother exploded in a searing inferno. Hot, hot, hot. Trickster screamed as he rushed to try to extinguish the flames. Get your friends and come on, the attacker motioned to Naruto. The blonde hurriedly hefted the girls over his shoulders and ran out the door, following his helper. It was a blue-skinned girl. She had long ears like the night elves, but they folded into her hair. But what caught Naruto's attention was that she had hooves. Adrenii, Naruto mentally gasped, recalling what Tylyrus told him about the other alliance members. This way, the Drenii said as she turned around a corner. Wait a sec, Drenii. Who are you, and why are you helping us? Naruto demanded as he followed her. My name is Riku Ayashner, and I have my reasons, Riku replied coolly. Naruto frowned, but continued to follow her. Not soon after, they burst out onto the deck. It was raining heavily, and the waves crashed onto the boat's sides. Corpses littered the deck. The blonde grimaced at the gruesome scene. Suddenly, the part of the flooring on the deck burst open, and the two rogues emerged from the hole. Thought you could escape us, huh? Laridius asked harshly. His eyes glowed an ominous yellow in the foggy rain. Kid, you take on the younger one. I'll take the other, Riku said. She unstrapped her Stormhammer. Rockbiter weapon. The Stormhammer cackled a bit with magic, before settling down with a small, earthy green glow. I have a name you know, Naruto retorted. It's Naruto. Whatever, Riku said before she charged at Laridius. The blonde smirked. He put his hands in his favorite seal. Kagebunshin no jutsu. Trickster chuckled at the result. Images won't work on us, you idiot. Undead can smell which one is real through your flesh's scent. Whoever said they're not real? Naruto smirked as he and his 4 clones got into battle stance. Charge. Lightning bolt. Laridius dodged the lightning and pounced on the Drenii team. Riku swung her hammer down on the undead. The rogue barely had time to get out of the way as the enhanced weapon smashed through the floor, exposing the inside of the ship below. Flame tongue weapon. Riku's Stormhammer burst into flames, effectively increasing its damage output. Iridius smirked and tried to charge the young shaman, but the keyword is tried. The rogue found that he couldn't move that much. What the fuck is going on? Iridius exclaimed. Rika grinned and pointed to a spot on the ship. There lay a totem, specifically an earthbind totem. Iridius cursed. Bye-bye, Riku chirped as she raised her stormhammer. She smashed the flaming weapon into the undead, sending him flying into the waves. Riya, still hefting Naruto, turned a corner. She gasped as her eyes were suddenly blinded from a bright light. As soon as her eyes adjusted to the intense light, she blinked confusedly at what looked to be an exit of sorts. She smiled. They attacked the younger rogue as the original began to form seals. One quickly kawaramied with a corpse near the brothers, appearing right next to them. You! He shouted as he kicked the undead towards the other clones. Zoo! Another exclaimed as it backflipped, kicking Trickster upwards in the process. Ma! Yet another shouted as it slammed both its fists into the undead's stomach. Ki! The last said as it roundhoused the undead's skull. The last Naruto quickly ended his seal sequence. Shunshin no jutsu. He appeared above Trickster, legs set for an axe kick. Naruto Rindan. The blonde slammed the undead down into the deck's floor. The rogue smashed through the floor, falling down onto the floor below. Naruto smirked as he landed near the edge of the hole. Take that, you rotten flesh bag. Suddenly the flooring behind Naruto exploded. Riya, still hefting Naruto, walked towards what looked to be the exit of this strange world she was in. While looking for the exit, she thought about how worried she had been when she found Naruto dead. She hadn't cried the much since, well, ever. This has caused her to start thinking about what she thought of her blonde friend. Thought they haven't known each other long. They had formed a strong bond. Riya also couldn't shake off this tingly, funny feeling whenever Naruto touched her or complimented her. The silver-haired twin was confused. She stopped in front of the exit. The twin turned her head and gave Naruto's face a long, hard look. Naruto, Riya thought. She laid the corpse down on the floor. Riya then gave it a small peck on the cheek. She stood up and walked out the exit. Riya groaned as she regained consciousness. She opened her eyes to find a dreamy-eyed girl untying her and her sister. Sila was still unconscious. What happened? Riya slurred. You and your sister were almost kidnapped. Naruto and I saved you from the undead, Riku replied. Riya's eyes snapped open. Naruto. Barely even thinking, she stood up and ran in the direction she felt Naruto's presence. Riku stood, hefted Sila on her back, and quickly followed her. Guess who? A voice said behind Naruto. The blonde fearfully turned around to find Trickster standing behind him with a sword from a dead guard. The Jinchuriki had no time to dodge. Trickster impaled Naruto on the sword through his back. Naruto! Riya screamed. She and Riku arrived on the scene just in time to find a sword sticking out of Naruto's body. Riku growled and drew her stormhammer. Suddenly a dagger flew out of nowhere and scratched the Dreamy-Eye's fingers. The teen found that she could now barely move her fingers, let alone hold her weapon. Riku also discovered that she could think properly. Like that? My dagger has a poison that induces paralysis and disrupts trains of thoughts, such as spells, Iridius said as he crawled back onto the deck, soaking wet and burnt at the same time. Naruto! Riya screamed. Trickster dropped the blonde and began to advance on the two helpless girls. His brother dropped down next to him and grinned maniacally. Naruto, help! Riya screamed one final time as the two undead charged. Kit, are you there? Are you? Answer me, you little brat. Just shut up and let me die peacefully. I don't believe this. Let me sleep. The pain. I want it to end. So you want to end your pain, but not prevent the pain of your friends? How can I save them? I can't. Then you're gonna let them die? I can't save them. I shouldn't waste so much energy. I won't live. I won't. Where is the boy I was imprisoned in? You are not him. The Kit I know never gives up, never breaks promises, and never lets his friends get hurt. You Kitsune team. You're right. I won't let them die. Then don't let them. Ah! Naruto screamed as he snapped his eyes open. He stood up, a flaring shuriken ball of wind chakra beginning to swirl ferociously in his palm. The blonde ripped the sword from his gut, the wound healing almost immediately. The two undead turned around as a whole new level of power was suddenly unleashed upon the bridge. Naruto roared as he ran towards the two undead. He flipped high into the air, landing between the girls and the rogues. "Take this, futon. Raisin shuriken." The blonde threw the ball of chakra at the rogue's direction. Suddenly the storm stopped, as if the attack drained it of its very wind. It would be 10 minutes later before a scout ship found the only 4 survivors of that attack. So much for those unlucky passengers. Translations: Shunshin no Jutsu, Body Flicker Technique, Kitsune Team, Fox Bastard, Futon, Raisin Shuriken, Wind Release, Spiraling Shuriken. Review please. Decisive Dreams. Notes: Alrighty people, in this chappy, we have polls. It concerns Naruto's bloodline, or if he should have any. Here it is. Kyorangan, Fury Eye, turns iris orange with a crimson rim and pupil. Allows user to see chakra pathways and predict movements, like the Sharingan, but doesn't let them copy the movements. It does, however, increase the user's speed and strength considerably. More experienced Kyorangan users can often interrupt enemy jutsus using the special counter jutsus Kyorangan users can only use. Those will be shown only if the Kyorangan is picked. Awahazugan, Blue Jade Eye, turns iris a beautiful royal blue with a teal rim. There are 3 levels. On level 1, there is no change to the Awahazugan, and the user is allowed to see chakra pathways and through thin objects. On level 2, a silver diamond appears above the pupil. The user can then predict movements and see through objects no thicker than half a foot. On level 3, another silver diamond appears under the pupil. At this level, 4 elemental jutsus are unlocked to the user, and the user can see for 180 degrees and through any object, similar to the Byakugan. These new jutsus will be shown only if the Awahazugan is chosen. Your own custom Kekkei Genkai. You may submit it via review or PM. Please include the appearance of it and the abilities. I'll then post it up next chapter for other readers to vote as well. No bloodline limit, kinda self-explanatory. Disclaimer: Naruto belongs to Masashi Kishimoto, so don't sue me. If you do, I'll countersue. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 6, Decisive Dreams. Any word from Naruto, Jiraiya? Tsunade asked the pervert. For the 100th time, Tsunade. No, I haven't seen the Gaki for a week. Jiraiya shook his head solemnly. The 2 Sannin stood in Tsunade's office. They were discussing the matter of a certain missing blonde. Tsunade's eyes watered. But Jiraiya, who knows what could have happened to him? The Akatsuki, they might have taken him. That may be possible, but we would know if they did. I've taught the Gaki to release a large chakra wave as soon as he engages an Akatsuki member in combat. And I've never been more than a town away from him, just like you asked before I left. So I would have sensed his chakra, the Toad Sage said. He looked out the window, where his former village lay. I know how you feel, Tsunade. He was as precious to me as he was to you. Naruto was. He was like the son I've never had. Plus he reminds me so much of Minato. It's not even funny. Tsunade turned to follow Jiraiya's gaze. She stared at the village called Konoha. She wondered how a village could throw away its most priceless possession. Sasuke hated it. He hated it more than he hated Itachi. Yes, he hated it that much. Want to know what he hated? The very village he lived in. More precisely, it was the majority of the population of the village he lived in. Left and right, people would praise him of his abilities, his handsomeness, his potential to become the greatest Konoha ninja ever, etc., etc. This pissed him off to no end. But today, some villager thought it'd be a good idea to praise the young Uchiha for a new topic. Good day, Uchiha-san. Look how powerful you're becoming. You might soon become the Rokudai Dash. Bam! The poor villager was rammed into a nearby steel telephone pole, breaking it and 10 of the villagers' bones in half. Sasuke was now furious. How dare they praise him of fulfilling Naruto's dream? The Uchiha spat on the pain-induced villager and stomped away. After a while, the Uchiha ended up in Team 7's training grounds. He began training, and in the middle of his katas and routines, he berated himself. After all, it was Sasuke's fault that Naruto was banished from Konoha. The young Uchiha let a single tear fall for his brother. He shed the tear for the broken dreams of his true brother. Get any available medical druids and potion brewers to the infirmary now. Tyrant barked. The patients need to stay alive. Several night elves of all sizes and gender nodded and rushed off towards the infirmary. Some went to gather the others that weren't present. Priestess Tyrant, we'll need some thunderweed for one of our recovery potions, a sentinel said to the high priestess. Then send hunters to scour the island for any thunderweed, Tyrant replied. She spotted a middle-aged, for a night elf, cobalt-haired druid and his students practicing healing magic in one corner of the grand hall. You there? Do your students have sufficient medical experience to heal an emergency patient? The druid looked startled. Well, barely, my priestess, but they are. Then get them to the infirmary quickly. We have lives to save. Yes, priestess, the young druid bowed. He hurried off with his companions to try to heal the new arrivals. Tyrant sighed. All the stress of being the night elf leader and dealing with Fandel Staghelm every day can really get to you. And the added stress of keeping someone alive when they're at the brink of death. It's a miracle the female night elf remained sane. Naruto groaned as he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing that entered his vision was a young female night elf about to take off his mask. The blonde quickly stopped her hand. Ryla-chan, it isn't really a challenge if you do that while I'm unconscious, the Jinchuriki smiled. Naruto? Ryla exclaimed, startled. Then she smiled brightly. Naruto, you're awake. She hugged the boy tightly. We thought we lost you. Yes, you gave us quite a scare, human, a more mature female voice said from the doorway. The teenagers quickly detached and looked at the source of the sound. Ryla gasped as she realized who it was and bowed deeply. Greetings, Priestess Tyrant, Ryla said respectfully. Tyrant? Naruto asked. Then he remembered that Tyrant was the leader of the Sentinels and High Priestess of Elune. Another fact he remembered was that she was over 10,000 years old. Wow, she's old but she still looks young and beautiful. Kinda like Bachan, Naruto thought. He looked at the night elf leader. Nah, Tyrant. Where are we? You are on Darnassus, the night elf capital, the woman answered. It seems you had quite a rough ride on the way to the island. Naruto chuckled sheepishly. Yeah, a couple of undead rogues attacked our ship, and I kinda had to blow it up to beat them. Tyrant smiled. Well, you did a good job defeating those rogues, young one. They had a reasonable bounty on their heads. You deserve a reward. By the way, Ryla, the Drenii, and your twin are in the room next door. She tossed a bag of coins at Ryla, who barely caught it. Tyrant nodded a goodbye before leaving. Ryla looked at the cloth bag. She carefully opened it and her eyes bugged out. They looked like they could pop out of her eye sockets and roll away. T300 gold coins. The twin screamed. In a weapons shop near the Grand Hall, another night elf had just finished his most precious project. It was T300 gold coins. A voice suddenly echoed throughout the shop. What the hell was that? The night elf asked. He shrugged. Right now, he had to finish polishing his greatest creation. Scylla and Riku sat on their respective beds in their room. Riku was poking at her ear with her pinky. Geez, what was that? Riku said. Probably Ryla. I'd recognize that voice anywhere, Scylla answered. The Drenii raised an eyebrow and the night elf. But why would she shout 300 gold coins so loudly? She asked. No idea. Scylla shook her head in confusion. Suddenly the door opened and Tyrant came in. The two girls looked intently for an explanation at the older woman. Your human friend is fine. He and your sister have just gotten the reward for the heads of the 2 undead rogues you have killed, Tyrant told them. You two are not well enough to walk around. Be sure to stay in this room. I will have attendants check in on you periodically. Scylla's sweat dropped. I guess now we know the reason Ryla shouted 300 gold coins at the top of her lungs. The night elf leader soon left. A woman entered the council room. In it were the leaders of the night elf kingdom. The room was comprised of a giant circular table with several seats surrounding it. The woman, Tyrant, sat in her seat and turned to the other council members. The new guests are well, but something is amiss. I believe you could give us some information, Cypress? What did you find unusual about the human boy? Tyrant asked the head of the Night Elf Medical Department, an expert druid, Cypress Trotleaf. The medical druid smiled. His healing abilities are remarkable. Even though at the beginning we had to work day and night to fix his wounds, when he had gathered enough energy, it seemed as if the boy's body began to fight along with us. What do you mean? Asked Fandel Staghelm, the current archdruid. His body. The cuts were sealed instantly. Chunks of missing flesh were replaced. The boy's body has a regeneration mechanism that surpasses any of our druids or priests' healing magics. It was incredible, Cypress said with awe. The boy's arm was mangled and was to the brink of falling off when this regeneration kicked in. Then, a few hours later, his arm looked like it hadn't even been scratched before. But what? Asked Sentinel Captain, Chandri's Feathermoon. But our druids had sensed a deep power in him. A very great power indeed. It could possibly match that of a greater demon's. But that's not why I fear this power. I fear this power because the druid gulped. What we discovered is only the surface. We of the medical department estimate that once this power is completely uncovered, it could match that of Archimonde and kill Jaden. Fandel slammed his hand on the table. That's preposterous. You're saying this boy has a hidden power that can match that of Sargeras's greatest generals? Cypress nodded. Indeed, it may seem preposterous, but it is true. The council was silent. Chandri's decided to speak up. What should we do with the boy and this power? She asked. Cypress scratched his ear. Well, according to one of my assistants, the boy cannot control the power. So we may be safe for the time being. So what should we do? Asked another night elf. Fandel huffed. Isn't it obvious? We should take this power and make it our own. Whether we have to kill the boy or tame him, we need it. The night elves should use this hidden power to crush the Horde, the Illidari, and the Scourge. The council was suddenly ablaze with discussion. Many side arguments broke out, and the discussion was about to lead to physical confrontation when, enough! Tyrant shouted. She furiously turned to Fandel. Are you mad, Staghelm? Messing with this power is like starting another war of the ancients, using a power that we were not given to us directly by Elune, and the earth itself is becoming like the damned Quel'Dorii. But, Priestess, Archdruid Staghelm has a point, Cypress said. We could use this boy to our advantage. Instead of enslaving or harvesting his power, we should be his friends. Because if this power is ever released, it would do us good to be on the boy's side. I suggest we even train him to harness it. We could hone his battle skills as well. He could become a great ally in the future. Tyrant pondered this for a few moments. Then, she held her head high and spoke her plan. Naruto sat in his room. Ryla was able to walk around since she wasn't injured much. She had gone to get him some food. The door opened. Tyrant stepped in and put a satchel on Naruto's lap. The blonde boy stared at it. Then he looked at the night elf woman. What's this? He asked. Tyrant smirked. Training equipment. The council has decided to train you in the arts of the Quel'Dorii. Naruto could only smile under his cloth mask. Review please. Don't forget about the poll. Training and troubles. Notes. Hey people. Sorry for not updating for a long time. Something messed up my computer, and I wasn't able to get on Microsoft Word to work on my stories. Anyways, here are my poll results. Awahazugan 4, Kyorangan 5, no bloodline limit 1, and for the custom Kekii Genkai, 2 were submitted that I like the most. If yours doesn't show, please don't be offended, but it probably doesn't fit in with the storyline I've planned. The ones that I did pick, I adapted it to have Japanese words and changed a few abilities, so if you see something you somewhat recognize, it'll probably be yours. Sashigan, Elemental Eye, turns the iris copper with a gold rim. There are 4 different versions of the Sashigan. In each version, the user can use one element. In the Kasashigan, a red ring appears around the pupil and a small red circle with intricate designs appears on the forehead. The Kasashigan lets a user manipulate the fire element to such high levels, a katon. Housenka no Jutsu, S fireballs are each as big as a katon. Gokaku no Jutsu. The same for the Sway Sashigan, Du Sashigan, and Fu Sashigan, except with blue, green, and silver markings, respectively. There are no different levels to the Sasuke, but more powerful users can often combine two versions to create a new one that uses the secondary elements: ice, wood, metal, and lightning. Fuhengen, Everlasting Eye, turns the iris a beautiful golden color. There are 5 levels to the Fugen. At the first level, a silver curved line appears and connects the top part of the pupil to the rim of the iris. This level allows the user to see the unseen, making Fugen users expert treasure hunters and mystics. This ability is nothing like the Byakugan, because the Fugen can also see emotions, needs, and theoretically, the future. But at the first level, Fuhengen users can only see what they need to see and cannot control this power. At the second level, another curved line appears, this time connecting the bottom of the pupil to the iris's rim. This lets the Fuhengen user have limited control of the Fuhengen's ability, letting the user see one's emotions. At the third level, yet another curved line appears to the right side of the pupil. The Fuhengen user can now see the user can control what it wants to see, such as treasures, hidden traps, or weapons, and such. At the fourth level, even another curved line appears, this time to the left of the pupil. At this level, the Fuhengen user can analyze and organize emotions and thoughts enough to predict movements, much like a Sharingan. But the Fuhengen has an even better sense of prediction as it reads the opponent's minds, not their bodies. There is not much known about the fifth level, so I cannot tell you about it. A/N. And yes, that is just an excuse because I can't find a good 5th level ability to add. You guys can vote for the new ones in this chapter, but not for the old ones, alright? Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto. I do have a spinning chair though. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 7. Training and Troubles. A/N. Got tired of making up dream chapters. Ooh wow. Riya, Slyus, and Riku all looked over to their 4th training partner and wondered what all the ruckus was about. Naruto was hopping on one foot, glaring evilly at his blunt practice sword on the ground. What the hell happened now, Blondie? Riku asked. She flicked her tail a bit, a sign of aggravation. Naruto pouted at her. 1. Don't call me Blondie. And 2. That stupid sword almost decapitated my foot. Naruto, you do know the swords are blunted, right? Slyus deadpanned. She sighed and continued training with the wooden dummy. Naruto glared at her too. Then he picked up the sword and continued training as well. All 4 were receiving private training from the Tyrant and the Sentinels. The girls seemed to pick up on the training fast, and already Riya was a master marksman with her new longbow, and Slyus could tackle a bear and knock it out with her bare hands. Even Riku was improving, finding that some druid teachings were not so different from shaman ones. But Naruto, he could have done better. At bow practice, Naruto hit the trainer more than once. The trainer had 9 visits to the infirmary that week. With sword practice, he almost cut his trainer's head off swinging the sharp object around. 15 visits. With hunting and tracking practice, he almost caused a stampede of elk. 19 visits, including those of the girls and Naruto's. With animal friendship practice, he almost caused a stampede of squirrels. 59 visits. The squirrels stampeded into the city, and so on and so forth. Clang. OWW. Stupid sword. Naruto angrily thought. I'm used to weapons from my world, such as kunai, shuriken, and steel wire. These swords are too heavy and unwieldy for me to use. And what's the point of a bow? I could do better throwing the stupid arrows. And stupid animals. All I did was try to give that stupid squirrel an acorn. How was I supposed to know that the squirrels in that grove only eat pine cones? Meanwhile, Kyubi was snickering madly to himself. Yamaro, Kitsune baka. Naruto thought. It's not my fault you suck at using this world's weapons. Kyubi laughed. Naruto, finding no intelligent retort, could only pick up his sword and restart practicing. Later that day, Naruto groaned with pain. He had his ass kicked in sword sparring with Slyus again. He just wasn't good with Azeroth's swords. Even though he was way faster than the green-haired twin, the heavy sword slowed him down so much, Slyus could kick his rump all around the practice arena. A/N. Level-wise now, Naruto is 47, Riya and Slyus are 34, and Riku is 42. He walked down the streets of Darnassus. The Night Elf city was huge. It could easily be the size of Konoha. Naruto chuckled. Darnassus was a city in the forest, Much like Konoha, many other things about the two cities were the same as well, such as the way people, civilians and soldiers alike walked through the streets in tranquil peace. Suddenly, something in a window caught his eye. Finally, I'm done polishing. Hyro's root flayer, the local blacksmith, cried out enthusiastically. He had finally finished polishing his greatest work ever. There were several complaints lately of his daggers scratching or breaking too easily. So his customers, mostly rogues, requested instead a powerful, sturdy weapon that can also kill with one strike as daggers can. His first thought was, sword. So Hyros began to smith a sword that would fit a rogue's needs for a quick, painless death. This sword, albeit strange in design by any Azerothian standard, was a perfect weapon for a rogue. I think I'll call it Tempest, Hyros commented. The name fit perfectly. The night elf blacksmith smiled. Tempest would fetch a reasonable price, at least 100 gold coins. And no sooner than he put it up at the window for display, someone barged through the door. Tyrant closed the door to her room. She sighed. Another day of fangirl, paperwork, and searching for Malfurion done, she thought. The night elf female lied down on her bed and began to close her silver-colored eyes. That's when she felt his presence. Tyrant's eyes snapped open. She barely thought as she quickly strapped on her bow and arrow quiver and ran out of her room. I've been waiting for you, my love, Tyrant growled. How did he get past all the guards? Wondering how I got past all the guards. Let's just say I cut down your security employment costs. Literally, he chuckled. Then he frowned. Tyrant, my love, why again do you refuse me? Even when he may be dead, you still love him. Why? I love him because he isn't power-hungry, like you, the female night elf roared. I love him because he thinks for the best of me, our race, and our world. You, on the other hand, don't. You consumed demonic energy, you betrayed us countless times, you committed unspeakable crimes, and you infiltrate my home and kill my guards, my friends. That is why I love Malfurion and not you, Tyrant growled. Illidan scowled. He scratched one of his great curving demonic horns. Well, that's not nice to say. Tyrant quickly cocked an arrow and imbued it with her energy, making it glow an ethereal blue. Give me a good reason why I shouldn't strike you down right now, betrayer. The demonic night elf pointed at her bow. A whip of dark energy formed on his finger and quickly slashed the bow and arrow in half. Tyrant growled and ran at Illidan, prepared to claw him down with her bare hands if necessary. Illidan merely grinned and pointed at her again. Another whip of energy appeared and surrounded her. It bound her limbs together and slammed her against the wall. Tyrant struggled as the whip held her in place. Illidan merely frowned at her. This hurts me as much as it hurts you, my love. But if I have to make you love me by force, I shall. No one, not even my dear brother, Malfurion, is here to save you now. That's what you think, betrayer. Heroic strike. Scylla slashed her broadsword down Illidan's back. Riya quickly cocked an arrow and shot it at the hand that maintained the energy whip. The arrow shot true and pierced Illidan's wrist. The energy whip disintegrated and Tyrant fell to the ground. She punched Illidan in the stomach and then shoved him away. Arg! Illidan shouted out in pain. He backhanded Scylla away as he stumbled backwards. The demonic night elf growled at the newcoming twins and Dreenii. He grabbed the arrow in his wrist and ripped it out of his flesh with a sickening rip. You will regret interfering with me, you whelps. Riku only smirked. It's you who will regret messing with Priestess Tyrant. Lightning bolt. A bolt of lightning, obviously, shot out of her palm and struck the demon in his chest. With an oof, he stumbled backwards and slammed into a nearby pillar. The demonic night elf growled. An aura of dark energy began to form around his body. Like I said, you will regret that, Illidan said angrily. His aura began to boil with dark power. Wrath. With a mighty roar, Illidan's aura exploded outwards, slamming the night elves and Dreenii into the walls. Ow! Riya mumbled as she struggled to get up. She quickly cocked another arrow into her bow and aimed for Illidan. Just as Riya was about to shoot, Illidan suddenly disappeared. The silver-haired twin blinked in confusion. What the? The demonic elf suddenly appeared behind her and slammed his fist into her head. Ryla fell to the ground, 6 feet away. Illidan walked over to Ryla, grasped her throat, and slammed her into the nearby wall. You dare interfere, young one? You shall pay dearly, for your price is death. He growled. A dark coating of demonic energy formed in the palm of his other hand. It extended and created a crescent shape. Then the energy receded, revealing his legendary warblade, glowing with a green demonic aura. Illidan's blade was a few inches from Ryla's neck when, Rasengan, Naruto shouted as he shunshined behind Illidan and slammed the ball of chakra into Illidan's back. The swirling ball exploded, sending the demon out through the wall. Luckily, he dropped Ryla in the process, or else she would have been sent out as well. Ryla-chan, Naruto cried out in surprise. He knelt down next to her and lifted her head off the floor. You all right? Why, yeah, she coughed. Just get out there and kick ass. Naruto grinned behind his mask. I will. Meanwhile, outside Tyron's house, Illidan coughed as he stood up. That power, he thought. I have never felt it before. It is nothing like that of any demon or mortal I know. He smiled. Intriguing. I must learn more about this boy. Hey you, big horny guy with wings. Naruto shouted at him. QB snickered a bit at his container's phrasing. I don't know who you are or what you want, but when you mess with my friends, you'll pay. Well, boy, I am Illidan Stormrage the Betrayer, Lord of Outland and leader of the Illidari. My want here is none of your business. Illidan announced. His other warblade appeared as he settled into the infamous demon hunter battle stance, with one blade in front of him and the other blade behind. So this guy is Illidan? Damn, he's powerful. I can almost see the demonic power coming off of him in waves. Naruto thought. QB growled. Careful, kid. This Illidan is as powerful as 3 of my tails. Be wary. Naruto drew his new sword and settled into a battle stance as well. Illidan raised an eyebrow at the sword's design. It was short and light for a sword, yet looked very powerful. It looked more Pandaren than Night Elf. A swirling wind-like pattern adorned the hilt, which was rectangular and had a square hand guard. The beautiful silver blade was also rectangular, with one side of the point being longer than the other. A/N. So basically, it's a kodachi with a wind design. Tongue sticking out, Illidan smirked. Are you ready, whelp? Naruto grinned back as he began to gather chakra into his limbs. As ready as I'll ever be, bastard. Translations. Yamaro, Kitsune baka. Shut up. Fox bastard shunshined. Body flickered. Yay. Another of my chapters done. I know it's short, but like chapter 4, I'm planning on a long epic fight next chapter. So stay tuned. Review please. Reviews fuel my brain. Johnny. Lust for power. Notes. Here are the poll results. Notes. The poll results are not telling, but you'll know this chapter. Oh, and as for the short hiatus, it was the last quarter of school and I had to get all the finals, projects, and extra credit assignments done. Then my Microsoft Word blew out on me and wouldn't upload any files. Yeah, it sucked. But now it's working again, and be sure to see my stories being updated. Disclaimer. Yes, I own Naruto because I married Kishimoto's daughter and gained the rights to the franchise. And that was sarcasm. A Kitsune's dream. Chapter 8. Lust for Power. Naruto and Illidan repeatedly clashed blades in front of Tyron's ornate mansion. Naruto roared as he slammed Tempest into one of Illidan's warblades with all his might. Illidan merely stood there and absorbed the impact. The demon hunter threw his arm out, repelling Tempest and blowing Naruto and his clones back. Ah! The blonde exclaimed as he slid across the rough night elven pavement. When he stopped, Naruto immediately thought over his chances of winning. Let's see. I've used half my chakra. QB team mysteriously disappeared. Illidan is toying with me. Everyone except Ryla is unconscious, and all the nearby guards are dead. Yup, I'm in trouble. Naruto groaned, and he stood up. He roared once again as he charged recklessly into battle, summoning up another army of shadow clones. Illidan smirked. Even though Illidan had to hold back more than 80% of his power, it was fun to toy with the blonde. QB sat in his cage in human form. He growled. The nine-tailed demon stood up and banged on the cage. He desperately tried to figure out a way to help his kit. He frowned. The only way for him to give Naruto enough power to defeat Illidan was to fully abandon his ninth tail and permanently transfer the power to Naruto. But then, Kyuubi shivered at the consequences of that. You see, when Naruto went one-tailed mode during his fight at the Valley of the End, the tail was not the match of one of Kyuubi's actual tails. It was barely half of that, actually. The tail was an avatar of Kyuubi's power manifesting in Naruto. Even if Naruto had 8 of Kyuubi's tails, only 6 at most would appear. Now about the consequences that Kyuubi had to put up with. In the demon world, only the most powerful in their clans could be males. So every single one of the tailed beasts were male, even the feminine Nibi no Nikomata. But Kyuubi was once female, as was all the tailed beasts. Being a male was an honor to the demon world. As a male of a demon clan, you would have the rest of the clan, which are all female, as your personal harem. If Kyuubi were to permanently transfer one of his tails, he'd have to abandon his title as a tailed beast, his harem, and his banana. A/N, not the fruity kind of banana, but the demon lord thought about it. Both his life and the kit's life were in danger. And so, he thought about it again. Katon, Kakyu no Jutsu, Suiton, Teppadama, Futon, Renkuden, Doton, Shinsadama. The 4 clones aimed their respective jutsus at Illidan. The jutsus exploded in an elemental fury. Meanwhile, Naruto and another clone prepared a Rasengan. As the smoke dissipated, Naruto charged through. Rasengan. Illidan grabbed Naruto's wrist before the attack hit his chest. He frowned at the glowing blue orb. Interesting attack you have here. It would literally rip my insides out. The spinning energy would have caused a lot of damage if it had hit. Too bad you're too slow. The demonic night elf flicked his wrist. Naruto flew back into his clones, destroying them. Illidan chuckled. You foolish boy. You are indeed powerful, but not powerful enough to destroy the Lord of Outland. The betrayer walked over to Naruto and picked the blonde up by the scruff of his neck. He held him at arm's length and brought his other arm back, preparing to decapitate the Jinchuriki once and for all. Suddenly, a blast of red chakra erupted from Naruto's pores. Illidan flew back through the wall from the explosion. Riya heaved as she dragged Slyus, Tyrant, and Riku through a long hall. She sighed as she approached yet another door in the maze of halls in the ornate mansion. Suddenly, Illidan blasted through the walls in front of her and imprinted himself into the other side of the hallway. The demon growled. He detached himself from the wall and ran through the hole from which he came. Riya blinked with her silver eyes and shrugged. She continued to drag the others along to find a way out. Naruto growled as red energy formed a red aura around him and formed a tail. What's happening? This is a different feel than all the other times I summoned Kyuubi's power. That's because I permanently transferred my 9th tail to you. Kyuubi answered. Kyuubi, where were you? And why does your voice sound feminine? Naruto furrowed his brow. I'll explain later. For now, you need to use this to defeat that damned night elf. All right, Kyuubi. It's showtime. Naruto's eyes suddenly became a deeper shade of blue instead of the normal red when harnessing Kyuubi's power. The rims of his irises also turned teal. Naruto could then see with more clarity. He looked at his hand and could see blue and red lines running through his fingers and wrist. They were chakra pathways. He grinned. I have a Dojutsu. The blonde picked up Tempest and channeled his chakra through it. He could see his chakra flow in and out of the blade, as if it was an extension of his arm. Suddenly, he could see a blackish outline of dark energies charging straight through him. But the wall was still intact and solid. That means I can see through walls. I bet Arrow, Sannin would give anything to be able to do this. This Dojutsu is called the Aohijwagen. It's not a normal Dojutsu that can be spread through heredity. It is a Dojutsu that those blessed with the Kitsune clan receive. Naruto frowned. But I thought the team's Sharingan was the Dojutsu that the Kitsune clan blessing. No, not at all. The Sharingan is the outcome of when someone tries to copy the Aohijwagen and converts it with Kitsune chakra. You see, the Byakugan was the first Aohijwagen copy. Then Hyuga, or soon-to-be Uchiha, Madara overwhelmed his Byakugan with my clan's chakra, forming the Sharingan. The Byakugan acts a lot like the first and third levels of the Aohijwigan. The Sharingan acts like the second and the last. What are the Aohijwigan's levels? I don't really have time to explain, Kit. I'll tell you later, as well as why I am female now. Okay. You're a chick now. Like I said, I'll explain later. Illidan charged through the night elf-shaped hole and growled. That hurt. Naruto grinned. His former cerulean, now royal blue, eyes glowed. Jikoku Teishite Jakenkankyu. What? Illidan furrowed his eyebrows at the foreign language. Naruto suddenly disappeared and appeared behind the demonic night elf. As the blonde swung Tempest at Illidan's head, the betrayer ducked, rolled out, and jumped up into the air. Illidan spread his wings and hung in the air, looking in slight shock at Naruto. You've gotten faster. You got that right? Naruto smirked. Tajuukaga Bunshin no Jutsu. Over 50 clones appeared and began their attack. Illidan weaved through the air with his wings, performing barrel rolls, dives, and somersaults, dodging the barrage of various elemental jutsu, kunai, and shuriken. Suddenly, a couple of clones attached themselves on Illidan's back and began to glow. Bunshin Daibakuha. The clones exploded. Illidan fell through the dust cloud with several burns. Katon, Karyu Inden, Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu, Doton, Doryu Inden, Futon, Furyuden no Jutsu. For elemental dragons twisted around the falling Illidan and consumed him in an elemental fury. The flames burned him. The drops stung him. The stones bruised him. The wind cut him. Illidan, for the first time in many years, cried out in pain. Naruto, still in his red cloak of Kyuubi's former chakra, began to shape a Rasengan. The Rasengan was pure royal blue, instead of the normal light blue. Shards of cyan jade floated in and around the Rasengan. Naruto growled, showing his enlarged canine teeth. Take this, you bastard! Hate Shigenai Hijui no Rasengan. Naruto jumped up with near untraceable speed. The blonde brought his arm back and thrust forward. But then a demonic hand covered in Illidan's evil purple energies grabbed Naruto's wrist before the sphere impacted. Naruto gasped at Illidan. Illidan's entire body was covered in dark energy. The energy flowed from Illidan's pores, and it burned Naruto's wrist. His eyes were now visible through the cloth of the blindfold. They glowed an ominous gold, tinted with demonic green. You think you can defeat me, the Lord of Outland, with your pity techniques? Illidan roared. His voice was darker, more evil, and scared the shit out of Naruto. A wave of dark energy exploded out of Illidan, sending the blonde hard into the ground, leaving a large crater. Illidan floated down next to Naruto, who was now unconscious. The dark energy receded, leaving Illidan seething with rage. I cannot believe this fool made me unleash my demon form, and he damaged me enough so that I do not have enough power to defeat even Tyrant. This boy is a pest. I should kill him now while he is unconscious, to avoid further troubles. Illidan raised a warblade and began to bring it down on Naruto when, "Entangle!" a male voice shouted. Vines exploded from the ground and wrapped themselves around Illidan's legs. The demonic night elf growled and glared at his new attackers. It was Fandel Staghelm. The archdruid stood with several other druids and some of Tyron's elite lieutenants. You will not cause any more harm, betrayer. Fandel sneered at Illidan. The Lord of Outland chuckled. Ah, Fandel. I remember back when we were training to be druids before the War of the Ancients. You were always jealous of me and my brother. We surpassed you in every area, healing magics, morphing into our totems, and bending the forest to our will. Illidan smirked. Then he frowned. The only reason you are the new archdruid is because Malfurion is missing and I have chosen another path. You are one lucky son of a troll. Fandel scowled. You wish. I rightfully deserved this title. I probably would have overtaken Malfurion even if he didn't disappear. You are the failure, resorting to demonic magic to gain power. Illidan grinned. And it has paid off. The demonic night elf suddenly disintegrated into wisps of dark energy, freeing himself from the vines. The dark energy left the mansion grounds and disappeared into the night sky. Fandel sighed, rubbing his forehead. He turned to his followers and motioned to the mansion. Scour the grounds for Mistress Tyrant and other survivors. Translations: Katan, Kakyu no Jutsu, Fire Release, Fireball Technique, Suiton, Teppadama, Water Release, Gunshot Futon, Rinkuden, Wind Release, Drilling Air Bullet Doton, Chinsadama, Earth Release, Sediment Shot Jikoku Teishite Jakenkankyu. Time for some fun. Tajuf Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Multiple Shadow Clone Technique. Bunshin Daibakuha, Clone Great Explosion. Katan, Karyu Inden, Fire Release, Fire Dragon Missile. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Technique. Doton, Doryu Inden, Earth Release, Earth Dragon Missile. Futon, Furyuden no Jutsu, Wind Release, Wind Dragon Technique. Hachiganai Hijui no Rasengan, Eternal Jade Spiraling Sphere. Finally, I have now updated. Also watch out for DTIC, and all my other stories bring updated soon. Johnny. History 101. Notes. Alright peoples. I'm here to point out, I don't favor the Alliance. Several people that have reviewed or PM'd to me have asked me why I favor the Alliance. I'm saying, I do not favor the Alliance. In fact, I tend to like the Horde better. It's just easier for someone like Naruto to familiarize the world of Azeroth with people who don't want to claw his guts out. Orcs, trolls, undead, and blood. Elves all hate humans and would have killed Naruto on the spot. Tauren would tolerate him, but it would still be easier if Naruto met Alliance members first. Now on to the story. Disclaimer. Yes, I own Naruto and its multi-million-dollar franchise. That's why I'm working my ass off to get a scholarship for college. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 9. History 101. Alright, Kyubi, what the hell is going on? Naruto asked his now female tenant. The giant demonic fox stood at the bars of the massive gate, separating her from her jailer. A golden furred tail swished behind Naruto, the proof that Kyubi had indeed transferred her ninth tail to him. Alright, kid, we have a lot to talk about, so make yourself comfortable. Kyubi answered. She was suddenly covered in a twister of demonic chakra. The twister soon dissipated, and instead of a fox the size of the Hokage Tower, a woman appeared. The woman had flowing crimson hair that reached the back of her knees, a black kimono with silver outlines, whisker-like marks similar to Naruto's, 8 crimson tails, and the glowing red eyes that confirmed Naruto that this was indeed Kyubi. Oh, and she was the sexiest thing the blonde had ever seen. Naruto calmly pulled down his mask and plugged his bleeding nostrils. Kyubi smirked devilishly at that. Alright, Kyubi, let's talk, Naruto said, his plugged nose altering his voice. The knee-deep water suddenly drained into holes that appeared in the sides of the giant, cavern-like room. A small coffee table appeared in between 2 of the giant bars. Naruto and Kyubi walked to it and sat down on their respective ends. Let's start with why you're a girl. And drop-dead gorgeous one at that. Naruto couldn't help but think. Kyubi nodded. In my world, only the strongest of a clan are given the right to be male. Being a male is a highly regarded honor, no matter which clan you are in. And being the only male in your clan means the rest of the clan is your personal harem. I see, Naruto said. He looked at his new tail and wiggled it. The blonde chuckled. I see you're having fun. Kyubi giggled at his antics. Then she frowned. I guess I should probably tell you how demons from my world entered yours. Naruto adopted a serious look and listened intently. Kyubi began. In truth, it was your world that started it. Several tens of thousands of years ago, the world you know now was entirely different. Humans were prosperous for an age of time. They had weapons that could destroy entire continents, medicine that enabled them to live for over 200 years, vehicles that could go faster than the speed of sound, and no threats to their culture and beliefs. That is, until they stumbled upon my world. It was done by a group of scientists who accidentally created an item that made a rift between our worlds. At first, both races were overjoyed to meet other life in the universe. But then the humans began to get suspicious. They thought our customs and beliefs were a threat to their culture and way of life. I remember that one day. It was the day I had acquired enough power to become the new leader and male in my clan. And it was the day human armies marched onto our soil. They used their superior weapons to obliterate almost a third of the demon population in the first month. The humans had started what they called World War V. But to us demons, it was the beginning in the struggle against annihilation. Kyuso. Tsunade cursed, her eyes beginning to water. Jiraiya, the Konoha 11, and their senseis stood in her office, watched her as she began to weep. The council had, for the 20th time, rejected her request to search for Naruto. Those damn bastards. Jiraiya put his hand on her shoulder. The busty Hokage looked up at him. I talked to Gamabunta and asked if Naruto had summoned any of his followers. Jiraiya told her. He said no, but he told me if anyone is summoned by Naruto, he'd tell me right away. Tsunade wiped her eyes. That's not helping much. Sakura scrunched her face up. But Hokage-sama, why are you worrying about that baka so much? We should be worrying about Sasuke-kun's clan's revival and helping him kill his brother. Sasuke shook with annoyance. Itachi isn't my brother. The only brother I have now is Naruto. Sakura, you are the only baka around here. Sakura, aren't you worried for your teammate? Tintin asked her. Sakura frowned. Teammate? He is not my teammate. I do not care for him whatsoever because he hurt my Sasuke-kun. He's like everyone says he is. A demon. Slap. Everyone looked slightly shocked. Hinata, her face red with anger, instead of embarrassment, stood with her arm outstretched. She had slapped Sakura. Hard. You slut. How dare you say those things about Naruto-kun? I've put up with this for 3 fucking years, but I can't take it anymore. I can't stand you talking like this about the person who loved you. I was a bit jealous because you had won his heart, but now I'm wondering how he fell for a piece of crap like you in the first place. Hinata screamed. You're unsympathetic, uncaring for one's feelings, and you throw yourself like a whore at Sasuke. He loved you, and you stomped him into the dirt. You called him demon, yet the only demons I saw that day were you and the villagers. Everyone flinched at how cold and ruthless Hinata's words were. Kurenai didn't even think Hinata knew some of those words. Niji mentally remarked that it was similar to how Hayashi sounded when he was mad. Sakura stood with her hand on her cheek and her eyes wide. The Hyuga heiress glared at Sakura intensely before walking out of Tsunade's office, slamming the door behind her. The rest of Team 8 followed soon after. Sakura turned to Team Guy to find them all glaring at her, even the normally stoic Niji. Lee's glare was mixed in with a look of disappointment as well. They followed Team 8's lead and exited the Hokage's office. Serves you right, Tintin remarked as she closed the door behind them. Sakura still stood, shocked and nursing her red cheek. You know Sakura, Hinata's right? Ino said. Naruto-kun became strong to protect you and his friends. He brought back Sasuke-kun because you asked him to, and I think the main reason he left was because you wanted him to. He loved you, and you threw him away. Sakura looked at Ino. Why are you adding Kurin to Naruto's name? Don't tell me you like him. Ino smiled sadly. Maybe I do. Team 10 left as well. Only Team 7 and the 2 Sannin were left in the room. I almost forgot. There's a party in the Jounin Lounge celebrating Guy finally getting laid. Kakashi said. I was unfortunately blackmailed to come. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at him in confusion. Guy got laid? They both asked simultaneously. Kakashi nodded. It was the Fire Daimyo's niece. She was drunk and desperate for a man, and she happened to meet Guy. It's a bad way to get laid, but he was laid nonetheless. Tsunade and Jiraiya shivered. The Fire Daimyo's daughter was very beautiful, but his niece was uglier than Orochimaru. With a few hand seals, Kakashi shunshin to the Jounin Lounge. Well, there's a council meeting I have to attend. No one touch anything while I'm gone. The Hokage said as she walked out of the room. Jiraiya nodded. I'll come with you. Soon only Sakura and Sasuke stood in the room. It was a full 5 minutes of agonizing quiet. The Uchiha was the first to break the silence. Sakura, you remember when I said you were annoying 3 years ago? The dark-haired boy asked. She nodded. I was wrong about that. Sakura blushed and looked at him in hope. Is he gonna confess to me? Yada. Shinaro. We'll finally get our Sasuke. Inner Sakura cheered. I don't think you're annoying, Sasuke said, lowering his head so his face wasn't visible. In fact, I think, yes. I think, yes. You're Yes? A complete bitch. Sean Narrow? Sasuke left the room, leaving a stupefied Sakura. So after we demons successfully began to create our own weapons to match the humans, we started a counteroffensive. We drove them back into the human world, and the demon clans worked together to try and seal the dimensional rift. The clans poured in tons of demonic chakra, all for the cause of saving the demon world. But then the humans prepared another attack before the rift closed. The leaders of the 10 most prominent demon clans, the Tanuki, Nakomata, Isanade, Soku, Inu, Itachi, Ukami, Hibi, Kitsune, and Ryu, decided to head into the human world to seal off the rift from their side, which would effectively quadruple the sealing process. Unfortunately, the humans attacked earlier than we expected. The leader of the Ryu clan, Jibi no Ryu, held them off while the rest of us continued sealing the rift. But the humans got through and attacked us. Jibi was overwhelmed, and before he died, he released all of his tenketsu and chakra gates. This created a chakra explosion so massive, it was effectively Armageddon for the human world. Only a scant few survived, and when they came to, they had lost all their memory. Humanity began from scratch, forming nomadic tribes. During this, we had finished sealing off the rift, and in the process trapped ourselves on the human world. We decided to steer humanity so that they never get too powerful and redevelop their destructive weapons. A development occurred that we didn't expect though. Humans evolved chakra. It seems the excess amount of chakra that Jibi released had been absorbed by the humans. So they developed chakra. It was weaker than ours and humans didn't produce as much as demons, but humans were creative in using chakra. They used hand seals to mold the chakra in ways demons have never dreamed of and created jutsu. So we demons manipulated various villages to go to war with each other in an effort to stop them from further developing chakra and technologies. That is how the elemental countries and metallic countries were born. But humans still found ancient artifacts from World War V. So whenever a village discovers something that could remotely threaten us, we attack the village and destroy the finding. That is how the legend of the bijou started. Is he gonna be okay? Riku asked the druid assigned to watch over the blonde. The twins and Riku finally got a chance to check on Naruto's progress. Staghelm and the council had bombarded them with questions regarding illidan. The druid checked his vitals. He seems fine, but he's in a slight coma. There's also another thing that I think you should all know about. What is it? Scylla asked. The druid reached under the unconscious Jinchuriki and pulled out a furry thing the same color as Naruto's hair. He has a tail. So what was it that Konoha found that made you attack it? Naruto asked. Kyuubi frowned deeply. They discovered the very item that created the dimensional rift between our worlds. So I attacked Konoha in an effort to find the item and destroy it. But apparently the one who found it was the leader of the village. The Yondaime, Naruto said. The red-haired woman nodded. The Yondaime wore the item around his neck. So I attacked him as soon as he appeared. He was a good man and I hated having tried to kill him, but it was necessary for the safety of the demon world. We fought for hours, and I thought I had victory in my hands when he sealed you into me? Kyuubi nodded. In fact, my sealing was what caused a chain reaction of several other bijou to get sealed as well. Kyuubi said. Anyways, my goal was to make sure no human would ever find the item, regardless of my death or sealing. So as soon as the Shinigami devoured him, I swiped the item away into a distant area where I hoped no one would find it. What did it look like? Naruto asked. It was a cross-shaped pendant. It has a red outline and a diamond-like jewel in the middle. Kyuubi described. The item needs a large output of energy in order to create a dimensional rift. I believe the scientists were just trying to create an item that would let the user teleport instantly. The item is merely a prototype, Naruto thought. A cross-like pendant with a red outline and diamond in the middle. Where have I seen it before? Oh, you've got to be shitting me. Kyuubi, I just realized something. Naruto said. No need to go by my title anymore, kid. Call me by my real name, QCI. QCI said. All right, QCI-chan. Naruto nodded. Then he reached into his shirt and took out a cross-shaped item. It was the pendant he found in the well. QCI's eyes widened in realization. I think I found the item. He's waking up, the druid exclaimed. Riku and the twins hovered over Naruto's bed, watching him intensely. Naruto, eyes still closed, yawned and stretched his arms out. His hands each touched a mound of something soft and warm. The Jinchuriki snapped his eyes open and found his hands were on Sila's and Ryla's chests. Sila's eye was twitching and a manic grin adorned her face. Ryla was blushing and staring at the hand on her chest. Riku was smirking at them fiendishly. The druid shook his head in embarrassment. Naruto, you dog. I didn't know you liked to do this. Riku teased. Naruto? Sila trailed off. You're dead, you know that? Naruto sighed. Yeah, I know. Tyrant and Fandel exited the council room, arguing yet again about matters regarding Illidan. I'm telling you, we need to wage war with the Illidari. You need to persuade King Rin and King Bronzebeard to start attacking outland settlements. Fandel explained. The conflicts with the Horde are already causing enough trouble, Staghelm. Tyrant argued back. We don't need another war to further complicate our people's lives. I won't let you train Naruto either. Just because he can't use our world's magics doesn't mean I can't help him get stronger. He is bound to attract more unwanted attention, Fandel said. Then send him to Stormwind. Tyrant countered. If you wish to make him stronger, then let him train with his own kind. Archbishop Benedictus should be able to teach him more things than you could ever teach. Fandel growled. His plan backfired. Tyrant smirked. So we send him to Stormwind? The Archdruid stomped away, not answering her question. I've gotten too lazy. I don't feel like translating all of the Japanese words. Review, please. I said databeo. Notes, aha. Surprise. If you guys were wondering about why I took so long, it's because I made 2 chapters. Back-to-back updates are fun. Oh, and if you people think I got some ideas in this chapter from General Grievous, The Legend of Uzumaki Naruto, a beginning, you're wrong. We just had the same ideas and he published his earlier. Disclaimer. I don't want to own Naruto anymore. Kishimoto ruined it. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 10. I said databeo. Louise Rin, daughter of Anjuin Rin and heiress to the kingdom of Stormwind, was bored. She was a beautiful girl with hazel hair and silver eyes, all traits she had gained from her now-dead mother. Her convoy, consisting of 20 of Stormwind's finest knights and paladins riding on gallant horses, escorted her carriage on the roads near the ocean. She had gone on a short trip northwest of Stormwind to visit her aging and sick aunt. The princess of Stormwind had fun helping take care of her aunt. Her aunt didn't treat her like a princess at all and loved the girl who lived behind the royal blood. Louise even tolerated the long and boring trips just to see her aunt and take care of her. Milady, we are going to set up camp on the coastline. It's at your favorite spot. The captain of the convoy guards said as he rode alongside Louise's carriage. The captain was a young brown-haired man with freckles and paladin by the name of Derek Quirk. Although he was the leader of the guards, he was very young, only 3 years older than the princess. He had known her since she was a child and they treated each other like siblings. Set up my tent, Louise said, boredom practically dripping off of her voice. And let me change out of this damn dress. Yes, milady, Derek answered. He barked out orders to the other guards. A couple of knights dismounted and immediately began to construct a corral to hold the horses. A few more began patrolling up and down the coastline. Half of the rest began to set up tents. The others surrounded the entrance of the carriage to guard the princess. It was their highest priority. The princess got out and the bright sun shined on her sparkling royal dress. The dress was light blue, with frills and fluffs on her shoulders, waist, and neckline. The guards constructing her large, house-sized tent immediately stepped out as the princess stepped inside. The guards took up posts around the tent's perimeter. Louise exited soon after, in a light blue blouse, white knee-length skirt, and the white robe of a priest. Louise was a prodigy in the healing arts. At her age, she already rivaled the chief priests at the infirmary in Stormwind. Captain Quirk, Lady Rin. A paladin shouted as he came back from his patrol. I found a boy's body washed up down the beach. He needs help. Derek motioned to 2 other guards. You two, come with me. They followed the paladin back to an unconscious boy with a black trench coat and a golden furred tail. Louise took a damp cloth and put it on the boy's forehead. She had taken off the strange cloth headband in order to do this. The paladins and knights had quickly brought the boy to camp and tried to take care of him, but the princess immediately offered to nurse him. Derek and the others quickly disagreed, just in case the boy was a pirate or bandit. Louise had shaken her head and had them take the boy to her tent. The guards had laid him down on her collapsible bed. The boy groaned. Louise took this time to examine him. She had opened his strange shirt that closed by folding the sides over each other and tying it with a belt attached to the back of the shirt. The boy was exceptionally built. He had rippling muscles, but not too much. The princess ran a hand over his chest and abs, marveling at how hard yet soft they were. Louise suddenly pulled her hand away and blushed. She had seen a lot of people who had this kind of body. Why was she blushing? Louise looked at the 3 different items that were hung around his neck. There was an orange and red spiral item that had a strange rune-like symbol on one side. Another was a beautiful teal jewel that hung on a golden thread. The last was a golden cross-shaped symbol with a red outline and diamond-like gem in the middle. The princess looked at the boy's face. He had spiked sunny blonde hair and tan skin. Louise could also tell that behind the cloth mask, the boy was handsome yet still held a boyish look. The Stormwind heiress gently hooked her finger at the top of the mask and prepared to pull it down. She blushed at the surprisingly warm temperature of the boy's skin. Suddenly something brushed against her shin. The princess looked down and saw the boy's most peculiar trait. He had a tail. More precisely, a golden-colored foxtail with a white tip. Louise looked at the boy's face again and resumed slowly pulling down the boy's mask. She had barely uncovered the bridge of the nose when the blonde's eyes shot open. The boy stared at her for a second, and she stared back. Louise was intrigued for a second by his cerulean blue eyes. The boy gently took her hand away from his face and pulled his mask up. "Where am I? Who are you?" the boy asked. But before she could answer, Louise blinked as she felt something furry brush the inside of her thighs. She looked down and found the blonde's tail heading up her skirt. Louise blushed heavily. "Pee perverted fox." Louise screamed as she slapped the boy's face as hard as she could. The blonde comically flew off the bed and rolled onto the floor, unconscious. Derek and few other knights rushed into the tent, swords drawn. "What happened, milady?" the captain shouted. He raised an eyebrow as he saw Louise blushing a deep crimson red. Derek looked at the blonde and saw he had an imprint of a hand on his face. The brown-haired paladin's sweat dropped. Itai. Naruto flinched as Louise put a pack of ice on his cheek. "I'm sorry for slapping you so hard," the princess said sheepishly. "And to think I'm supposed to heal people, not hurt them. It's okay, really." Naruto smiled. "It's my tail's fault for having a perverted mind of its own. By the way, we haven't properly introduced ourselves." Louise smiled as well. Naruto blushed at how pretty she looked. "I'm Louise Rin, princess and heir to the throne of Stormwind." "Sugoi. So you're a princess?" Naruto asked with wonder. The hazel-haired girl giggled and nodded. "I'd never think I'd meet a princess. Well, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, traveling mercenary from the elemental countries." Louise tilted her head in confusion. "Elemental countries? Where is that?" Naruto scratched his head in embarrassment. "Well, you see, I don't come from this world. I had found a relic of sorts that transported me here. Want me to tell you about it?" The princess suddenly felt that her trip home would be less boring than she thought. "Damn it, Sila. It's your fault we don't know where Naruto is." Riku screeched at the green-haired twin as they got off the ship and headed into Stormwind. "It's not my fault. That pervert tried to take advantage of me," Sila argued back, huffing and puffing as she was being forced to carry all the luggage. "Oh, really?" Riku said with a speculating look. "If I remember correctly, Furushibaku no Jutsu." Naruto and Ryla stood next to the railing that kept passengers from falling off the ship. Ryla was laughing at the blonde's joke regarding the ship's captain. Sila and Riku stood on the opposite end of the ship to Stormwind. Sila was glaring angrily at one of them. Riku couldn't really tell who. "Hey Sila, who are you glaring at?" Riku asked her after some time. Sila looked surprised and blushed a bit at her question. Then she shook her head and answered, "Naruto, of course. If that pervert does anything to my Sisile, I doubt that he would. Riku smirked. Maybe you're glaring at Ryla instead? What? Silas stuttered. Why would I glare at Ryla? Because she's spending more time with Naruto than you are? Riku said, an evil glint in her eye. Sila blushed. What are you saying? The dreamy eye rolled her eyes and grabbed the green-haired night elf's shoulders. You. Like. Naruto. What? Sila exclaimed, her mouth wide open with shock. You're crazy. Hey Sila, Riku. What's up? Naruto said, suddenly appearing behind Sila. The warrior freaked out in surprise and shoved Naruto away. The blonde stumbled back and slipped on a wet part of the deck. He flipped over the railing and fell into the ocean. Naruto! The girls exclaimed as they looked over the railing. Then the gods decided to mess with them by suddenly starting up a thunderstorm. A lightning bolt struck the water in front of the girls, spraying them with freezing cold drops and shocking them at the same time. The crew appeared on the deck and scrambled to get the passengers to safety. The sailors forced the girls and the other passengers to go inside the ship. Wait, our friend fell in the ocean. Riku argued with the sailor, pushing her back inside. I'm sorry, miss, but this storm looks bad. If you stay out here, your friend won't be the only one that will end up in the ocean. The sailor said. Naruto. Ryla shouted just as the door closed. Furishabaka no jutsu, Kai. Riku is right, Sila. Ryla joined in. It's really your fault that Naruto fell overboard. Sila hung her head down. I'm sorry. You'll be forgiven. You just have to help us look for Naruto. Riku said. He's the reason we're in Stormwind in the first place. It's to help Naruto get home. I'm sure you want to help him as much as we do. Yeah, I do. Thanks, Riku. Sila said with a small smile. Riku grinned back. Ryla put her arms around both of them. Group hug. I see. Louise nodded as she and Naruto rode in her carriage. It was the next morning, and they had resumed traveling to Stormwind. So your best friend almost killed you? Naruto nodded. Well, it was mostly the cursed seal Orochimaru put on him. It caused him to try to get power at any cost. He snapped out of it when I beat him and dragged him back to Konoha. But then the village exiled you. Louise frowned. Yeah, it was because of my special abilities. Naruto said. He, like with the twins and Riku, refrained from telling Louise of QCI. They feared it was demonic magic. Added to the fact that I harmed their precious Sasuke. Louise frowned. She took Naruto's hand gently in hers. The blonde Jinchuriki looked up in surprise. A small blush formed on both of their cheeks. The princess looked at him with a serious look. Don't worry, Naruto. I'll do what those villagers didn't. I acknowledge you. Naruto smiled, tears in his eyes. Thanks, boom. A ball of flame slammed into the carriage. Louise blacked out as the carriage fell onto its side. Naruto struggled to stay conscious as he opened the door above him. He heard Derek barking out orders and the battle cries of men. Soon those battle cries turned into cries of death. Outside, bandits attacked the convoy. They came in waves of flesh, leather, and metal. Derek held off a pair of bandits who brandished giant, two-handed swords. They alternated attacks, leaving Derek no room to cast a spell or counterattack. The paladins immediately enchanted themselves and rushed into battle, swinging their holy maces. The bandits roared as they chopped and hacked down guards through use of superior numbers. A man that looked more orc than human chuckled evilly. He was obviously the leader. The man used a 6-foot-long club to sweep away guards left and right as he advanced towards the carriage. He climbed onto the side and grabbed Louise by her robe from the inside. Louise Heim, give her back, Naruto exclaimed. The man backhanded him with the same hand he was using to hold Louise's robe. Impudent child. You think you or the rest of this petty guard can protect the princess? Fool. He taunted. I shall ask the king for ransom. Or better yet, his daughter's hand in marriage for her life. Then when the king passes, I will be the new king. I can see my name already, King Slyus. I will make my bandit force, the Dark Fangs, the strongest army in Azeroth, and we shall finally destroy the horde. Slyus jumped down and batted away paladins and knights as he heaved the princess onto his shoulder. Retreat. The bandit force broke off from the remaining paladin guards and ran off into the forest, leaving dead bodies and carnage. "Milady!" Derek shouted out. Suddenly, a deadly presence was felt. It was a powerful aura that made Derek feel in the back of his head that he was going to die, then and there. What is this? Derek and the surviving knights turned to the carriage. A red and blue energy was escaping from the inside of it. Naruto climbed out and stood on the carriage's side. His eyes were glowing with anger. They had changed color. They were a deeper royal blue, with a teal rim. Naruto's hair was more unruly than usual and his tail was swishing slowly behind him. "That bastard wants to use Louise as a way to gain power," Naruto said as his hair shadowed his eyes from the view of Louise's remaining convoy. "Just like Orochimaru. He used Sasuke to gain power. That's Slyus. That bastard!" Naruto roared as he looked up. His Awa Hazugen had slitted pupils now. He jumped off the carriage and into the forest with near untraceable speeds, leaving the shocked paladins and knights. Derek looked in awe at the raw power the boy produced. A paladin slowly tapped the captain on the shoulder. "Should we go after them?" Derek shook his head. "No. I have a feeling that Brat can handle it." An hour later, Slyus and his lieutenants sat in his large cabin, celebrating their victory. "To the new kingdom of Stormwind. To the Dark Fangs." Slyus cheered, raising a mug of ale. "Huzzah!" His lieutenants cheered with him. An unconscious Louise sat, tied up and blindfolded, next to Slyus's chair. The giant bandit leader looked down at her. "You should be grateful, princess. We Dark Fangs are the future, and you are part of it," Slyus said, pounding his chest with pride. One of Slyus's lieutenants came up to the young priestess. "This one is quite a looker." "Yeah. I guess there are other benefits to marrying her, too," the Dark Fang's leader said with a perverted grin. The lieutenant laughed. "She's a C-cup, probably a virgin," the sick man said, licking his lips. He cupped his hand over her right breast. Louise whimpered in her sleep. "Hey boss, can I have fun with her first?" "Yeah, sure. I prefer experienced women anyways." Slyus looked down at them, ale dripping down his chin. The lieutenant smirked as he put his finger under her chin and brought her face up to his. His lips were an inch away from hers when, Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu, a ball of fire exploded into the side of the room. Slyus and the other bandits stood up and drew their weapons. Several of them gasped as they saw the outside. The camp outside of their cabin was devastated. Everyone outside was either dead or unconscious, except for one figure. A figure with a fox's tail. "It's the brat from the carriage," Slyus exclaimed. "How'd you find us?" Naruto scrunched his face up in disgust. "I followed the scent of filth." Slyus slammed his club into the ground. "You dare challenge the Dark Fangs?" The perverted lieutenant and another bandit flanked Slyus's sides. They summoned fireballs in their hands and launched them at the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto drew Tempest and batted them away. "Is that the best you got?" he taunted them. Slyus growled. This brat was mocking him. He pointed at Naruto's chest. "First one to retrieve his heart will get to sleep with my future bride." The bandit officers all laughed pervertedly. Naruto growled deeply at that. "He is offering her as a prize now? You're not a bastard. You're a demon." The officers charged at him with various weapons while the two at Slyus's side began to conjure up fireballs. Naruto put his hands up in his favorite hand seal. "Tajuo Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," Naruto shouted. Several clones appeared to match the numbers of the bandits. "Let's go, Databeo." "What?" one stupid bandit said. He was suddenly impaled by 3 Tempest clones. "I said, Databeo. I wonder how Naruto is right now," Riya said, staring up into the night sky from the girls in room. "I'm worried about him too, Riya, but I'm sure he's fine. If he can stand up to illidan the betrayer, then he can stand up to anything other than the Lich King himself." Sila encouraged her. "Swait-un, Suijin Hiki," Naruto said. Water vapor in the air condensed and formed a circular shield of swirling water around him. The bandit mages threw fireball after fireball at him, none of them penetrating the watery shield. "Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu." Two voices said from under the two mages. Suddenly both of them were buried neck-deep into the ground. Two Kage Bunshin popped out of the ground, giving thumbs up to Naruto. The original blonde ran towards Slyus, who was busy dispelling several of Naruto's clones. The blonde activated his Awahazugan and began to swirl chakra in his palm. Shards of jade appeared out of nowhere and swirled into the forming ball of chakra as well. The Jinchuriki sent a barrage of killer intent towards the bandit leader. The man suddenly froze in place. He slowly turned around to find the blonde running at him with a royal blue sphere in his palm. What is this power? What is this feeling that I'll die? Slyus thought, still stunned by Naruto's killer intent. The blonde looked into his eyes with his slitted Awahazugan. The bandit leader promptly emptied his bowels right then and there. This power, this feeling, Naruto said just as he prepared to thrust his arm forward, is my will to protect Louise. Slyus cried out as the ball was thrust into his chest. Hate Shiganai Hijui no Rasengan. The Rasengan exploded, the jade shards embedded deep into the bandit leader's flesh. The jade shards suddenly began to expand and multiply, covering every spot of Slyus's skin. The jade itself exploded in a shower of teal chakra. Slyus's screams could be heard for miles. Again, I'm too tired to translate. Review please. Johnny. Omake 1. Notes. Just an omake this chapter. Disclaimer. If I owned Naruto, Jiraiya would have rubbed off on him just a little bit. A Kitsune's dream omake 1. Sakura giggled as she continued to stalk. Follow the dark-haired Uchiha. A couple dozen other girls followed her. Sasuke was walking towards his home after a long day of training. His new ambition now was to find a way to get Naruto back to the village. Suddenly, another group of girls stopped Sasuke in his tracks. Halt! This is Uzumaki Fan Club territory. Identify yourself. A girl with a beanie and orange hair said. Sakura huffed. It was the girl she had met on a mission to Rice Country. The girl, Sasami if she could remember her name correctly, had apparently met Naruto before and was now part of his fan club. Yes, people, Naruto gained a fan club after he left. The club was made up of converting Sasuke fans and people who came to Konoha after meeting or hearing of Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke said. Sasami nodded and motioned for him to pass. A girl with bandages on her face and body stopped him. What is it, Isarabi-san? A third girl with a Hashigakure Hitayate said. We have no qualms against you, Uchiha-san, but we do have conflicts with your fan club. The fish girl said, looking over Sasuke's shoulders. The raven-haired teen turned to find his fan club, armed to the teeth with pillows and rope. Sasuke turned back to find the Uzumaki club had taken pillows out as well. Hokuto, the Hashigakure girl, squeezed her pillow, which made a curious click-chick sound. The Uchiha slapped his forehead. Not again. Tsunade looked out of her office window to find a large cloud of dust appearing on a nearby street. She could faintly hear sounds of girls screaming and pillows thumping. Uzumaki. Uchiha. Blonde hair is the best. No, raven hair is. Nothing can match clear sky blue eyes that can look into your soul. Dark obsidian eyes that suck you and are way better. The big busted Hokage sighed. It was a phenomenon in Hidden Village history. Two major influential males had caused a civil war between several of the young females. This conflict was way more dangerous than any of the great shinobi wars. Sasuke clung to the side of the wall, avoiding the horrific battle in the street. A ridiculously fat girl clung to the wall next to him. The fangirl war has begun, bitches. Let's go, you Uzumaki skank. Uchiha tramps. Feel the orange rage. Bow down to our brooding fury. Go, Kiba, the fat girl said quietly. All the sounds and movements stopped. Get her. The two clubs roared in unison. They stampeded into the poor girl who was the only current member of the Kiba fan club. Sasuke's sweat dropped as he shunshined out of the area. He ignored the girl's cries for her idol. Achoo. Kiba sneezed, spraying snot all over the luxurious dinner that his mother had taken 6 hours to cook, not counting the hour it took to prepare. Gomen Kachin. My fan club must be talking about me again. Sum twitched. Review please, or I will eat your soul. Pervert alert. Notes. Yay. I'm finally updating. Oh, and by the way, I don't play World of Warcraft that much. Tried it once on a trial. LOL. So if I get anything wrong with geography or lore, don't flame me too much. Disclaimer. Whoever thinks I own Naruto needs to have a meeting with my fist. Whoever thinks I own World of Warcraft needs to have very intimate contact with my heel. A Kitsune's Dream. Chapter 11. Pervert Alert. It was morning. The birds chirped serenely, and the tree leaves rustled softly to the gentle breeze. A wild boar snorted as it scavenged the forest floor. A flock of spring butterflies, newly hatched from their cocoons, flew off into the sky. It was peaceful, but the harmony was broken by the clanking metal of armor pieces and stomping of heavy feet. A small, battered battalion of paladins that made up the survivors of Louise's royal guard walked up the slope of a steep hill. Many were limping, carried on horses, or otherwise injured. Derek waved his hand forward. Come on. Stormwind is just on the other side of this hill. One of his corporals tapped his shoulder. Sir, but where are Princess Louise and the strange fox boy? Derek sighed. I don't know, but we can only hope for the best. When that boy with the tail shot after the dark fangs, something told me not to follow them. Something told me that the boy would be able to save Louise. The corporal furrowed his eyebrows. Sir, we cannot put all our faith on a single boy. Nothing short of an upper member from a powerful guild can single-handedly eliminate an entire camp of bandits. Besides, it's been an entire day. Don't you think he'd be back by now? A sad look adorned Derek's face. Why, you're right. What was I thinking, letting one kid go against an entire group of bandits? Not all is lost, sir. The other paladin replied. Most likely, the bandits have not killed the princess and plan to hold her ransom. She will, live. But they might do other stuff to Princess Louise. Just thinking about it makes me want to. Derek scowled as he clenched his fist so hard. The metal on his gloves bent inwards. The corporal put a comforting hand on his commander's shoulder. It's better than having her dead. As they reached the crest of the hill, the group of hurt paladins looked down upon the city of Stormwind, the largest and most magnificent of the Alliance cities. Its sturdy defenses and standing garrison were only matched by the Horde's capital of Agramar, the undead city of Iceground Citadel and Illidan's stronghold, Hellfire Citadel. Nothing short of an army larger than the original Orcish horde of Draenor could break through the large stone walls. Derek sighed tiredly as he waved his arm forward again. Onward! Naruto jumped from tree to tree, carrying a still unconscious Louise on his back. The blonde had gone back to the place where the Dark Fang's ambush occurred and found that the remaining royal guard had already left, leaving only the dead bodies of slaughtered enemies and comrades along with Louise's overturned carriage. He had immediately gone straight for Stormwind, which was roughly southeast of his current location if he remembered correctly. He hopped quickly through the lower canopy of the large trees in the forest he was in. The blonde had seen many strange things on his short journey to the Alliance capital. He saw a young wolf search for food. He had witnessed a tribe of murlocs and a gnoll warband fight along the shore of a large pond. He had even seen a couple of traveling mages spar with their opposite frost and flame magic. All of these things intrigued Naruto. The strange creatures, the powerful techniques, the unique way of life. The blonde may not know it, but he was slowly falling in love with the world of Azeroth. Inside of him, a scheming QCI smirked, thinking that soon her kit would accept the fact that he would live better here, that he would decide to leave his past behind and move forward. Riya, Scylla, and Riku walked down a dirt path leading to Stormwind. They had picked up new equipment from the port they landed in. Apparently, the port was a major armor and weapons supplier. The three had each gotten new sets of armor and had enhanced their weapons. Riya now had a thick brown leather shirt that accentuated her torso's curves, a steel shoulder guard on her right shoulder that had the Night Elf Sentinel's insignia, and a pair of form-fitting leaf green leather pants. Her glaive was strapped onto her back, and her arrows were transferred into thin quivers that attached to the sides of her thighs. She held her longbow tightly, a calm look on her face. Scylla had a standard set of steel female Night Elf armor. Her breastplate and greaves were navy blue while her shoulder guards, leggings, and bracers were undyed and still silver. The Sentinel's insignia was on her breastplate, right above her heart. Her broadsword was in its scabbard at her hip, while her new spear was strapped to her back. Rika's stormhammer was replaced by a ritual staff that was common of many other shamans. The staff was plain brown, but as the area near the head slowly bled into a deep crimson. The staff's headpiece was a red orb that had a golden glowing ball in the middle. Her outfit didn't change much, other than the fact she wore metallic elbow pads that matched her knee pads. The Jiraiya yawned loudly. Why did we have to wake up so early again? Don't you want to find Naruto? Scylla asked her. We could have waited an hour or two. Rika replied. Ryla shook her head. We have to find him as fast as possible. Why? Riku smirked, a devious plan assembling itself in her mind. We'll find him eventually. Do you think an hour or two would put a dent in Naruto's quest to find a way back to his home? No. Surely you know that. Well, of course, but… Scylla started. But… Riku interrupted, her smirk growing wider. The truth is the only reason you girls want to find him as soon as possible is because you both want to smooch with him. The twins blushed heavily as they glared at their hoofed companion. More like Scylla glared while Ryla blushed some more. What? Don't deny it. Scylla narrowed her eyes. At least I don't whisper. Please use that tail some more, then moan like a horny troll in my sleep. Now it was Rika's turn to blush. The sudden red on her cheeks contrasted horribly with her blue skin. I do not. Ryla decided to join in. But Riku, I've also heard you whimper and say, show me how foxes get it on. The dreamy-eyed girl could have died from embarrassment in that moment. The twins high-fived each other and laughed as Riku tried to burn holes through them with her eyes. As they neared a crossroads, they heard voices and armor clanking. They stopped at the intersection and watched as a group of severely injured humans walked by in a small caravan. They were dressed in the golden-laced armor of paladins and bore the insignia for the royal guard. The three girls gasped at the number of hurt people. Silas spotted a relatively uninjured man and called out to him. He looked a bit startled before walking up to the trio. May I help you, ladies? If I may ask, what happened to you guys? Scylla asked. The paladin frowned. We were ambushed by a large bandit force. They killed many of our comrades and took the princess hostage. Louise Wren of Stormwind? The prodigy priestess? Ryla exclaimed. That princess? He nodded. Yes. Princess Louise was taken by the infamous Dark Fangs and will probably be held for ransom. Why didn't you guys go after them? Scylla shouted. My battalion was injured and severely outnumbered. The man replied sternly. If I were to follow them, my men would have been killed and the princess would still have been held for ransom. Nothing would have been accomplished. Scylla had no response. The paladin sighed. However, a stranger that we found, a young man we saved from drowning at a beach, followed them. I do not know what happened to him. We haven't seen him or the princess since. Rika had an odd feeling. Wait, what did the young man look like? He had spiky blonde hair, a black coat of sorts, a strange sword, and a cloth face mask. He answered, Oh, and this may sound strange, but he also had a foxtail. The three girls were shocked at the odd coincidence that has just happened. Do you know where he is? Ryla blurted out. The man was startled at the sudden question. I don't really know. Although if he did manage to save the princess, he would probably head to Stormwind. As soon as we get to the city, we'll have the king send trackers to search for them. We can only hope for the best. The two night elves and one dreamy eye looked at each other and nodded. Can we help you search for them? Riku offered, unlatching her ritual staff from her back. Naruto looked at the small parchment with several markings of tree, like symbols, dots, lines, and a big-ass castle-like structure that was called a map. The blonde then looked up around him, studying at his surroundings. He nodded before putting the map away. He picked up the still unconscious princess that leaned at the base of a nearby tree. Naruto jumped off back into the canopy, hopping at full speed. Do you even know what direction we're going in? QCI dryly remarked. Nope. King Anjuin Rin, newly appointed king of the human kingdom of Stormwind, listened intently to Derek's report. The paladin captain was kneeling with his head bowed at the base of the small stairway leading up to the king's throne. Scylla, Ryla, and Riku kneeled as well to the left of him. Then the boy went in pursuit. He moved at incredible speeds and was radiating a blue and orange aura. No one in my party has seen either of them since. Derek finished. The king nodded slowly, absorbing the information. And why, if I may ask, did you not pursue along with the boy? If he was radiating such powerful aura, then he would have been a winning factor when rescuing my daughter. Derek bowed his head even lower. I'm sorry, my lord, but most of my party was either dead or crippled. We would not have been able to track, let alone follow them even if we tried. I concluded that the best option was to return to Stormwind and notify you. Anduin sighed and rubbed his temples with his right hand. To his left, on a slightly smaller throne, sat his queen and wife, Jinzi Rin. The regal woman took her husband's hand and squeezed it lightly. Do not worry, dear. I'm sure Louise will be fine, she said. The king returned the squeeze. I understand your actions. However, I cannot help but be disappointed in you, Captain. Derek remained in his bowed position, not saying a word. Ryla and Scylla looked at each other before nodding. Scylla stood, catching the king and queen's attention. Your Highness, we would like to aid in the search of the princess. May I know why? Anduin inquired. Aiding our noble human allies in a time of crisis would be an honor, Your Highness. Scylla answered. And besides, the boy that pursued the dark fangs is a companion of ours. We want to make sure he is okay. The king nodded. He waved his hand at a nearby servant, calling him over. Gather the finest hunters within city walls and rally them. Anduin ordered. The servant bowed and left the throne chamber in order to spread the message. Sasuke ran through hand seals faster than most Jounin as he gathered his chakra. The last Uchiha took a deep breath and brought his hands to his mouth. Katon, Karyuden no Jutsu. A large flaming dragon burst out over the lake he used to train Katon Jutsu with. The dragon roared, flames shooting from its maw, before it crashed into the water, spewing a cloud of steam. The water boiled for a split second as the intense heat of the jutsu reacted with the lake's cool. Kakashi nodded from his position behind his apprentice. Good job, Sasuke. You executed it perfectly. Sasuke nodded, wincing at the slight burns around his mouth. Any news of Naruto? He's still missing. Jiraiya-sama is still waiting for the Gama clan to contact him. The mask-wearing shinobi answered. The raven-haired boy grunted. It had been a week since Naruto's disappearance. At first, the unfortunate news was only known by Tsunade and her closest advisors, along with Jiraiya and Team 7. But soon enough, the entire village knew and most of the civilians were partying. They all thought he was dead. Sasuke couldn't take it. The only reason the Uchiha was still in Konoha was because of his promise to become Hokage in Naruto's stead. Sasuke was supposed to protect all of their friends for him and to never abandon them. Sakura, being the idiot she was, almost got both of them and their replacement teammate, Sai, killed in the Chunin exams in Kumogakure. She had started a fight with a blonde-haired examiner who mocked Sasuke's skills. It turns out the examiner was a Jinchuriki and attacked them after Sakura insulted the mental ability of blondes. Sasuke, having a bit of experience fighting Jinchuriki, Gaara, and Naruto, managed to hold her off by going Cursed Seal level 1 until Kakashi and other Chunin got her under control. Sasuke was slowly getting used to the power, the reinforcing seal applied by Jiraiya keeping Orochimaru's influence from him. Tsunade punished the Pinkette accordingly, banning from duty for a full 2 months. So now, Sasuke became the official apprentice of Kakashi, although he and Sai still learned the same things while under the status of team. Sasuke wasn't the only one improving. The rest of the Konoha 11 had become great in their own rights during the short 3 years since Naruto's exile. Tsunade had taken Ino and Hinata as apprentices, and the two have become some of the better medic-nines in Konoha. Shikamaru enjoys a part-time job with Konoha's Tactics Division, where he sleeps during meetings. Chuji was found to have the ability to consume the dreaded 3 Akamichi pills and still survive, albeit with minor chakra exhaustion, and soon became legendary all over the elemental countries as the Butterfly of Konoha. Niji became a Jounin sensei, somehow ending up teaching the self-proclaimed Team Naruto, Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. Lee, not being able to reach Jounin due to his condition, turned into the second most feared special Jounin in Konoha, behind Enko. Shino and Kiba each became some of the best hunter neens this side of IWA. And as for Tintin, Tintin got herself a big-ass hammer and made her battle cry famous throughout the shinobi world. Bam! Bam! When can I learn Raikiri, Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke panted, steadying himself. Your chakra reserves are still too small, the silver-haired man answered. However, since I don't have an heir, I need someone to pass the Inu summoning contract to. The raven-haired teen looked up at his teacher in surprise. Really? You'll let me sign it? Nope. I was hoping Kiba would, since of his connection with canines. Bastard. Jiraiya giggled under his breath as he peeked through the small hole he made in the wooden fence separating him and his subjects of research. Wow, Kumo has a lot of hot women. Ooh, that busty blonde over there is a keeper. Maybe I'll pair her with the Naruto-based character in my new book. The perverted author giggled, sketching on his notepad. Suddenly his foot tapped on something metal. He looked down to find a recorder with a note attached to it. The note said, Dear Erosinin, I won't be able to stop your perverted antics all the time, so I've decided to leave anti-pervert wards at every hot spring on the continent. P.S. This is one of them. The recorder suddenly blasted out a large honking noise along with Naruto's voice. Pervert alert. Pervert alert. Uzumaki Naruto anti-pervert ward activated. All females in vicinity mobilize. Ah, pervert. Who's there? Jiraiya cursed, shaking his head slightly. Then he smiled. That Naruto. Annoying me even while on a different world. Yujito-chan. Your boyfriend Naruto's alarm went off. He's not my boyfriend. But whoever's out there better be ready to feel a butt full of demon chakra. A loud roar echoed through the area. Jiraiya cursed again. He took off, screaming at the top of his lungs as a dozen Kumokunoichi went in pursuit. Damn you, Naruto! Naruto sneezed, stirring Louise from her slumber. And Naruto? Where are we? I have absolutely no idea. I told you to take a left when we passed that big tree. Now we're totally lost. Shut it, QCI. Boom ba doom, bambada doom, ba doom. Review please.